Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon what part of the world you're joining us from. This is Eric Lofholm, and I want to welcome all of you to a program I'm calling Sacramento Motivation. And the reason we have called it that is all of our speakers are from the Sacramento region. And that's the part of the world that I live in. I live in a little town called Rocklin, California, which is about 30 miles outside of Sacramento. And so I put together a dynamic speaker lineup for all of you from people that I know here in the region. And the original vision for this event was going to be a live seminar, like in a hotel ballroom. And I've had this vision for several years. It's a pretty big undertaking to do a project of that size. And when the virus hit, my intuition said, you know what, Eric, let's go ahead and let's move forward with that event, except let's do it virtually. And so that's what we've put together here. And we have people that are joining us right now from all over the world. And right now, it's some really challenging times with what's happening with the virus and with the economy and how we're affected, and people getting sick and so forth. And I thought, it'd just be great to have just a dose of motivation and to hear from different speakers. And so we've got a great lineup. I'm going to pull up who all is going to be speaking today so you guys know exactly what to expect. So here is our lineup, and the event is TED Talk style. So each speaker is going for about 20 minutes. They may go a little bit less. I'm going to open up with a breakthrough idea on the power of collaboration, and then we're going to hear Lisa share a really important message on your children and navigating the online world. And then my pastor is going to speak, Ray Johnston, and he is an incredible, incredible human being. He's going to deliver a message about hope. And then Tom Daves is going to speak. Tom is one of the top producing real estate professionals in the US, and he has a great message on staying productive during challenging times. Kelley's then going to come speak, and she's an amazing speaker. She's going to be talking about having an abundant mindset. Raul is then going to come speak, talking about what can we learn from the past. And Raul is one of the top seminar leaders, speakers, and promoters here in the region. James is going to come and talk and share some ideas on financial matters, which is something that's always important, but especially important right now in these challenging times. And then our final speaker of the day, really good friend of mine, two-time Olympic gold medal winner, Ruthie Bolton. So great lineup. The 20-minute format, it allows each speaker to just get into some great golden nuggets right away. And I'm very excited to have the opportunity to speak to you guys today. This is going to be an annual event, and my hope is that next year we'll be able to do both virtual and in person. So if you're in the region here or you want to travel into the region for next year's event, you can come in person and we can meet. Or if you're out of the area or you're unable to meet in person that day, then you can attend virtually. So my talk today is the power of collaboration. And I wanted to share this with you for a couple reasons. One is that that's what this event is. The event is, it's 8 speakers. And we've had a number of people that have helped promote the event. And so this event is here with the principle of collaboration. And, I think we all collaborate at some level. You just intuitively at times will reach out to other people and look for ways that you can synergistically work together, strategically work together. But until 2009, I had never done it as a strategy. I had never done collaboration with intention. And I came across some concepts that created a breakthrough for me. And so I want to walk you guys through these concepts, and they potentially could create a breakthrough for you. The definition of collaboration: the action of working with somebody to produce or create something. The definition of prioritizing: priority, the fact or condition of being regarded or treated as more important. So my first thought is, what if you made collaboration a priority? What if you thought about people in your life that by you working with them and them working with you, you help each other out and you create more, and you might double your business. You might triple your business. You might create a lot more enjoyment in your business. So back in 2009, the last time that I experienced a major economic challenge, aside from what we're dealing with right now, when we had the whole savings and loan crisis, and my business revenues dropped 70% within 60 days. And my business was on life support. And I didn't know how I was going to pay my bills. And out of desperation, I spoke these words to God. I said, God, how am I supposed to grow my business in this economy? And I got an answer. One word: collaboration. No instructions. I got a one-word answer. And so I began to sit with that idea. Collaboration. What does that look like? How would that work? Who could I collaborate with? And it was out of this one-word answer from God. I believe God was giving me this answer. Out of that one-word answer, I developed what I now call the $250,000 idea. And what I did, these are 4 individuals: Laurel Langmeyer, Brian Clemmer, Alex Mendozian, and Bernie Dorman. And I thought, all right, if I'm going to collaborate, I need to make a list of people that I could collaborate with. So step number 1, I'm going to give you the exact formula right now. Screenshot what's on the screen or take some notes. And I want you to just do exactly what I'm going to tell you to do right now. And it's going to be outside of class because right now I need to train you. But I want you to take this and I want you to allow the miracles to show up in your life. So step number 1, make a list of all the people you could collaborate with. I did that. I came up with a list of over 100 people. I said, that's too many people to go deep with. How many people can I go deep with? 4. So here was my list of 4. Step 3 is reach out and connect. So I started reaching out to these 4 individuals. Hey, Laurel, it's Eric Lofholm. Could we set up a meeting? I'd like to discuss how we might be able to work together. And I was able to successfully secure 4 appointments. And they all agreed to collaborate with me. So I looked for ways I could help Laurel. She looked for ways she could help me. I looked for ways to help Brian. He looked for ways to help me. I looked for ways, and so forth and so on. And all of a sudden, all these miracle-like things started happening. And well over $250,000 in business came in. All because I said, God, how am I supposed to grow my business in this economy? I got a one-word answer: collaboration. I made a list of all the possible people I could collaborate with. I then reached out to connect, and I had these informal conversations, and organically, it just kind of did what it did. So sometimes people say, well, Eric, when I have the conversation, step number 3, and I reach out and connect, what do I say to them? And I wrote in the notes there, the message doesn't need to be perfect. If you think about a marriage proposal, all right, marriage proposals are not perfect. But anybody that's gotten married, that they start off with marriage proposal, it's not that it was the perfect wording, it was just that the 2 people wanted to get married. You know, when I proposed to my wife, got down on one knee, will you marry me? So it didn't, the words were fine, but they didn't need to be perfect. So it's more about the action, it's the doing. It's having the courage to reach out to people and say, hey, could we explore how we might collaborate? And just kind of, hey, what do you need help with? And here's how I can help. And here's what I need support with. And here's the assets I have. And here's the value I can bring. And you just kind of have this conversation. And you might have something absolutely amazing, amazing happen. Collaboration, for me, it became a mindset. It's a way that I now do business. If I didn't have the mindset of collaboration, this event wouldn't have happened. See, because it's a mindset, I'm like, all right, Sacramento motivation, okay, my vision, I want to find local speakers. We're going to do virtual because we can't meet in person right now. And I created the vision, but it starts with the mindset. And I think that the big opportunity for you as you're listening right now is, one, to adopt the mindset of solving problems with collaboration. Or if you already collaborate, how can you expand on the idea and create even more success for yourself? Your brain can think in a distinction. So once you start collaborating, your brain will start coming up with all these creative ideas of ways that you can collaborate with others. The questions principle, your brain will answer virtually any question you ask it. Your brain will answer virtually any question you ask it. So you ask yourself, who could I collaborate with? How could I add value to them? How could they add value to me? You're one collaboration away from a breakthrough. Mindsets are not fixed, they're flexible. And what that means is you might think, well, I've never collaborated before. Well, I'm not good at collaboration. And the reality is anybody can learn how to be good at putting together these types of deals or collaborating with others. And a lot of times in life, it's the same way you learned how to drive. All right, I can talk to you about, well, here's how you drive, and here's how you do the stick shift, and here's how you do a blinker. We can talk about it, but how did you learn how to drive? That's not how you learned. I mean, maybe a little bit, but you got behind the wheel. You got behind the wheel. That's how you do collaboration. You get behind the wheel. I'm training you right now, but I want you to go out there and start interacting with people and looking for ways to collaborate and allow the miracles to happen. Use your imagination. Come up with concepts of how you can work with other people and present your ideas to them. In some cases, they're going to say no. In other cases, they're going to say yes, and it's going to make your life richer. It's going to deepen your relationships. It's going to allow you to grow and expand. So I want to just walk you through some examples of this just to get your mind thinking about possible ideas. My neighbor, Kirk. So years ago, first day of school, putting my kids in the car. My neighbor Kirk across the street, he's putting his kids into the car. The kids go to the same school. I do the neighborly thing. Hey, Kirk. Hey, Eric. We wave at each other. Next morning, same thing. Get my kids in the car. Kirk's getting his kids into the car at the same time because the kids are going to the same school. Hey, Kirk. Hey, Eric. Third day, loading my kids into the car. Kirk's loading his kids into the car. Do the neighborly thing. Hey, Kirk. Hey, Eric. It dawns on me. We're taking our kids to the same school. Hey, Kirk, how about this? One day I'll take the kids. The next day you take the kids. If ever there's a day you can't do it, I'll take them. And if ever there's a day I can't do it, you take them. What do you say? He goes, Eric, thumbs up. Sounds good. So what do we do there? We cut down our drive time by 50%. Kirk now had a backup to take his kids to school. I know how to back up. And it created a richer experience for the kids, because they now had a shared experience of driving to school every day for a year. That's how simple collaboration can be. And there's opportunities like this right now for you in your life. And I think sometimes what holds us back is fear. Like, well, if I reach out to them, what if they say no? Okay, but what if they say yes? Think about that simple example. It's kind of nice cutting down the drive to school 50% of the time off of one yes. All right, so this is Les Brown. Les is a very famous international motivational speaker, and Les has become a collaborative business partner of mine. So what do? We look for ways to help each other. So the other day, Les's book came out. I'm like, hey, Les, do you want to do a webinar to my database, and I'll help you promote your book? And he goes, yeah, that would be great. So I looked for how to add value to Les. We sold about 1,000 books on that webinar. Sometimes Les will help me, sometimes I'll help him. So we have a synergistic relationship where we look to open doors for each other. So what if you got 3 of these relationships, 4 of these relationships, 5 of these relationships, one good relationship where you're just looking to help each other? It makes your life richer. And look, here's why it works. Because Les loves receiving help and he loves giving help. I love receiving help. I love giving help. There's a lot of people in this world that are like-minded like you that would love to support you. and you support them, and now it deepens your friendship. And Les and I, we've been doing this for 10 years. All right, this is Tom Hopkins, a famous sales trainer in my industry. And Tom did not have a lot of experience doing webinars like what we're doing right now. And I had a lot of experience doing webinars. So I'm like, hey, Tom, would you like to do a webinar? I'll set everything up and we'll do it together, and you promote in and I'll promote in, and it'll increase our attendance, and you can pick up some new clients and I can pick up some new clients. And Tom's like, yeah, okay, it sounds good. So we came together and we shared each other's networks, and we team taught, which created a greater experience for the student. And it was all win, 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 and it didn't cost either one of us anything. That was all created out of my imagination. Amazon book example. So I've written 15 books on Amazon, and so it's like, wow, Eric, you've written a lot of books. Well, most of these books are collaboration. This book here is written with a woman named Judy O'Higgins. It's a book about network marketing. And so I'm not a network marketer, but Judy's a superstar network marketer. I thought, Judy, you're an expert network marketer, and I got this concept. How about we come together and I'll cover all the costs of the book, and you contribute your content. We'll be co-authors, and it adds credibility to my book. So the book wouldn't exist if it wasn't a collaboration. Facebook ads. So I wanted to get a good guy to help me with Facebook ads. So I met this gentleman. His name is Alex Branding, and I've known Alex for many years. And I'm like, Alex, I want you to do Facebook ads for me. I don't want to pay you, though, your fee to run the ads. I'll pay for the ads. So can we work something out where instead of me paying you cash, I'm paying you in value? Can I give you something other than cash that would make it exciting for you to want to do the Facebook ads with me? So somebody's got to do the work to figure out the ads and to place the ads and do the whole strategy, and I don't know anything about that. And so Alex goes, well, I'm looking for leads in my business. And I'm like, all right, well, how can I help you with leads? So we're just discussing how we could work together. And he goes, well, how about this? I'll do the ads for you without you paying me in cash, but you pay me in leads, and here's how it'll work. I'll run the ads and the leads will come in, and then you promote me as a technology person, a web person, a Facebook ads person. You promote me to those leads, and that's my compensation. And I'm like, sure, because those aren't services that I provide. So if Alex sells Facebook ads to one of my people, it doesn't cost me anything. I save upfront cash, he gets lead flow, and it draws us together. And it wasn't so much me going to him and saying, this is what we should do. It was me going to him saying, I want to do something. Let's discuss how we can work together. And it's just kind of this informal conversation. And there's so many ways you guys can do this. Did you know Serena Williams and Venus Williams, two of the top tennis players of all time? Did you know that when they got started, they didn't have any money. They were raised in Compton, California, and they didn't have any money. But this coach saw potential in them, so the coach funded them, put them up in private school, got them equipment, gave them coaching services up front at zero cost, and he got a piece of their future career earnings. I just learned about this yesterday. So they got one of the best tennis coaches in the world, but they didn't have to put the money up front, and they became, two of the all-time great tennis players. Isn't that fascinating? That they didn't have the money, but they were able to do a collaboration. I find that fascinating. You can do deals like this. You can put opportunity together like this. This can create a breakthrough for you. This can change your life. It sincerely has changed my life. Today we're here because of collaboration, because it's a mindset that I have, it's an approach. And then, so here's what I want to wrap up with as I'm getting to the end of my time. The big idea, I'll tell you one more quick thing. I have this Facebook group. There's about 2,000 members, almost 2,000 members, and it's a lot to manage the group. So I made several people in the group moderators. So I have like 15 moderators. So the moderators and I, and then the members of the group make up an online community that we all benefit from. I benefit from the moderators and all the people in the community. And if any of you want to join the Facebook group, later on, I'll tell you how to join it if you want to be a part of it. We do success and motivation every day. It's all free. Well, that's a collaborative effort. The members of the group collaborate, the moderators and myself. So my final thought that I want to share with you guys today before we take a short break and then bring up our next speaker. This is the how-to of my session. If you will just do this, like, don't overthink it, just do it. Make a list, just ask your brain, who can I collaborate with? Make a list of all the possible people, and then prioritize, perhaps your top 4, and then just reach out to them. And you don't have to say the perfect thing, just like the marriage proposal. Don't focus on the perfect script, focus on just connection. Reach out and say, hey, I got this idea of how we can work together. And can we set up a coffee meeting or a Zoom meeting or a phone call or a meal? And can we just connect it? And they go, oh, yeah, sure. And just say, look, I really respect you. And I thought maybe there's some ways we could collaborate. And I want to present my ideas and allow whatever is going to happen to happen. And if you'll do that, I think you'll experience some amazing miracles. All right, so what we're going to do now is we are going to take a short break. Our format today is speaker for 20 minutes and then a break. So we're going to bring Lisa up next. She's going to talk about helping your child navigate their online world. 20-minute message. She's going to start at 9:30, go to 9:50. 10-minute break. Then we're going to bring up Pastor Ray. 10-minute break. We're going to bring up Tom, etc. So it's going to be awesome day today. I'm so excited you're here. You can certainly invite your friends. They can, enjoy the other speakers. Feel free to go on social media and post about this and invite your network if you'd like. So we're going to take, and now we got 8 minutes, so an 8-minute break. We'll see you back here at 9:30 for our next speaker.
Eric, and thank you everybody for joining us today. I'm really excited to share some of the things that I learned along my journey of being the CEO of a software company focused on helping children to be empowered to do more online safely. This is an area I navigated into by accident. It was a transformational moment for me, going from being a standard tech company executive at a multinational firm to an opportunity to meet with a potential collaboration partner with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. If you don't know who NCMEC is, you'll probably know what NCMEC does, and that is they do all the Amber Alerts for any missing children across the United States. But what most people don't know is they also are responsible for handling any reports of online child sexual abuse material coming from the tech companies, the public, or local law enforcement. And in an opportunity to engage with them as a partner, what I got made aware of that really transformed my career and my focus was coming from their CEO, John Clark. John is the former director of the US Marshals, and he was responsible for tracking down some of the most wanted criminals on the planet. And when he looked me dead in the eye and said, handing your child a smartphone is like dropping them off in the most dangerous city in the world and walking away, as a mom of 2 young kids, I felt the hairs stand up on my arms. Unpacking that a little bit, back in 2017 when we started working together, what he shared with me was that there were over 8 million images of child pornography reported to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children in 2017. To give you some context, the number of reports they had in 2013 was 500,000. So this has been a silent digital pandemic. But even more interesting, what we learned was 40% of those images were generated by children themselves. And as somebody who started my career forecasting the cellular market in the early 2000s, talking about one day they'll have color displays and cameras, I can guarantee you none of us anticipated that we were opening up this vector for criminals to abuse children and reach right into their homes. So it started a process of discovery, of really understanding that the world that we grew up in as young people is strikingly different as digital immigrants than the world of digital natives. Kids have on-demand access to online streaming pornography, and that normalizes behaviors that are anything but normal. And for this generation and the ones to follow, sexting is the new first base. You can see it covered in the media. You may think it's only the kids that parents aren't watching, or the kids that don't go to church, or the kids that maybe are having conflict in their families. But what we learned from doing interviews of the behavior of sexting among minors was that that is just not represented by the data. So we took the time to speak across the country with educators and administrators, youth workers, teens themselves, counselors and social workers, and pediatricians. And I'm going to deep dive into some of the things we learned from speaking with pediatricians, because I think it's really grounded in what we're experiencing today, especially as we're all going through this global pandemic together. So we talked to anybody from medical directors to pediatric emergency medicine professionals to general pediatricians themselves. And we talked to them about to understand things like, what cases do they see in their ER related to sexting? How old are the patients that are being impacted by this behavior? What do parents need to know about this issue? The first piece of feedback that I thought really stood out to me that was not intuitive, because I don't spend a lot of time on social media platforms with disappearing messages, was that it's becoming harder for girls to distinguish what is pornography because of celebrity culture. And a lot of the features on social media platforms, which by the way are designed for people that are at least a minimum age of 13 legally, but probably more intended for adult audiences in most cases, they are getting proactively served information that is pornographic in nature. So in my mind, my thought is, oh, it's a curiosity thing. But in reality, what we're learning is these kids aren't even seeking this kind of content. It's being served up in their stories. It's being served up by following celebrities on platforms. And it's being sent to them directly from their peers. The second thing that we heard through this process is it's just part of growing up right now. The transfer and trade of images and videos, including explicit images of children, is how they're communicating with each other. And this one really resonated, because as a parent myself, I must admit, it's really hard for me to shake this, but we're all in denial. It's really hard to hear that your child might be doing something that could impact their future, and that you're completely not aware of it. And I think that a lot of people carry some shame in this space, that if they were good parents, this doesn't happen in their families. And that's why I really want to help to demystify this message and really help people to come to terms with, these are the good kids, these are the bad kids, these are the rich kids, these are the poor kids, these are the spiritual kids, these are the atheist kids. This is just a cultural norm now. And so we need to grow a new cultural norm for parenting, that we keep an eye out for this kind of behavior. Then I wanted to go really to the source and understand from tweens and teens themselves what their feedback was. And to give you some context, we talked to teens from all across the country. We did in-person, in-depth interviews, and we did not sort for some of the craziest stories we could find. This was simply a matter of reaching out and collecting information from people. And in most cases, the teens shared with us that their families were not aware that some of the things that happened to them that they reported to us. So if you have the concept that you have a close relationship with your child and that they're going to come to you when they find these challenges, I just want to challenge your thinking a little bit there, because things that involve this topic are inherently embarrassing for people to talk about as adults, let alone as children. And so often it really is something that they need you to be those guardrails. They need you to be setting those boundaries and be involved in their online lives digitally, because it's not something the data just doesn't support that they're going to come talk to you when they need help, because it's just too embarrassing. So the first piece of feedback that I thought was really insightful was, parents think 13 Reasons Why is a fictional show, but it's really a child's reality. And that statement came from a 12-year-old girl to us. So something to really sit with. Here's some of the other things that we learned. I think about what I wear. I don't go anywhere unescorted. I don't date because boys scare me. And I'm falling behind in my online school, which is reducing my potential to fulfill my dream of being a doctor. This quote came from a child who had just entered her freshman year of high school. I received my first dick pic at 13 on my Kindle. This quote came from a child that's now homeschooling because the person that got that picture ultimately made a poor choice of sending one back and was extorted. You don't make it through the first week of your freshman year of high school without one of your peers sending you a naked photo. So again, dispelling that myth that kids are going and intentionally trying to find things that are challenging content that they shouldn't be accessing was one of the biggest myths that really resonated with me as a parent. Was these things are being served up to them amongst each other, and that really starts to erode your natural defenses when it doesn't seem so strange when a 30-year-old sends you a picture like that when you've already seen them from your peers. It reduces their natural barriers for behaviors like grooming, access to things like human trafficking and being a victim of that, and from people extorting them using photos that they made, making a 30-second decision. And then last but not least, and this one hit my heart heavy as well, which was, I turned down admission to my dream school to opt for community college because after being extorted at 14, I wasn't convinced I could stay safe on a big campus. So we, as families, are all focusing on how do we help our children thrive in this new world where, you know, everything evolves so quickly and technology is so available and there's so many benefits to it. But I want people to recognize the other side of that, which is children are now starting to feel less safe and less confident about going into the world and pursuing their academic dreams because of some of the bullying and experiences they're having online. This also builds on some of the things we learned about from the doctors, which is self-harm and sexting are co-occurring. One pediatrician shared with us that children as young as 11 and 12 are showing up in her emergency room attempting suicide as a result of this issue. Another doctor shared with us that they see a lot of mental health issues resulting in trips to the ER and ICU that are related to sexting. I want to pivot us to looking at what the top leading causes of death are for kids. And when you start to look at the information that's publicly available, you see that unintended injury is the leading cause of death of children. But that's really 5 different causes of death. That's burning, drowning, road traffic, poisoning, and any other unintended injuries that were just an accident. When you start to peel away the data and look at suicide as the second leading cause of death of children, it's important to note that according to the CDC, deaths from youth suicide are only part of the problem. More young people survive suicide attempts than actually die. So if you start to double those numbers, you'll start to see that suicide is by far really the leading cause of risk to kids in this day and age. The other thing that's an interesting perspective to take on is in any other leading cause of death, laws and policies have been put in place to curb this by setting up rules, regulations, and warnings to help people recognize when they're exposing their children to behaviors that might be risky for them. This is not the case in the area of online solutions and technology. And so it's really important that not only you understand for your own families, but you share that with other young people that you care about, that today there are no regulations to protect them, but that doesn't mean that these things aren't dangerous. So let's look a little bit at the data. So in 2014, what we learned was that suicide surpassed homicide to be the second leading cause of death for teenagers ages 15 to 19 in the United States. It does seem to be affecting young girls in a new way, in that by 2015, we saw a 40-year high for suicide in teen girls. And as of 2016, we recognized that there was potentially some correlations in the use of social media and the prevalence of things like cyberbullying, and that are contributing to suicidal ideation. In fact, by 2017, what we will learn is 1 in 10 girls will attempt suicide before the end of high school in the United States. So I want to share this information so that we can all be proactive in the lives of our children, because the beauty of adolescence is kids are incredibly resilient when they can be given new tools and new supports. And there's some really innovative things on the market today that can help make that really possible. And so I don't want to leave you with a message that this isn't a hopeful situation. What I want to leave you with is the message that there are things that you can do to put in safeguards for your family. I also want to educate you a little bit about what safeguards are being put on by government and technology companies, in case you want to lend your voice to asking for more. So there was a law that went into play called the Child Online Protection Act. And this was something that was supposed to be focused on protection for materials that are harmful to minors. But unfortunately, that law never took effect. That was because of a law called Section 230 of the Communication Decency Act, which gives platforms immunity from responsibility of what's shared on their platforms. So basically, you can think about it like a diplomat can't be accused of a crime. Because they aren't creating the content, they're just hosting the content, they're treated as a publisher, and that they are not held accountable for that kind of behavior. This was a law that was put in place in the early 90s, about 20 years ago. Now, there are some people that are challenging this law, and there are some instances where we've seen that it isn't a blanket protection, but you will see primarily the majority of the cases that come in this space are held up and overturned as a result of it. It also states that these companies should be providing notifications of parental control protections that are commercially available that may assist the customer in limiting access that are harmful to minors. Unfortunately, I don't see a lot of that out in the market. I myself as a parent was incredibly surprised to hear a lot of these statistics. They were not things that were readily available to my mind of things that I needed to be aware of. I knew that I needed to look at and understand things like vaccines. I hear a lot about GMOs in food. I hear a lot about digital divide and access, but this is just not a place that people are talking about as much today. So I want to leave you with some really simple things you can start doing today if you heard something and there's a young person in your life you care about that can empower you to help them make better decisions. Because the goal isn't to keep young people away from technology. I think we all know that's a losing battle. I think the more important thing is that we help them to have teachable moments with affordable consequences when they are still young enough to learn. So here's some simple things you can start doing today. Number 1, charge your devices outside of the bedroom. We all know in the physical world, not much good comes out of things that happen after 2 a.m. And in the virtual world, I would argue it's very similar. Plus, you are the best role model for your kids. When your kids see that you don't need to be tethered to your phone and looking at it the instant you wake up, you're setting a good role modeling for them so that they're not staying up late doing snap streaks when they should be sleeping, and they're not waking up with their day, setting their intention based on what's in their social media feed. They're doing it based on their own gratitude practices and creating that space for setting their own direction in the day. 2, remind them that if they come to you with a problem, you will not panic and take away their phone instantly. This is what we heard reports of from children over and over and over again, and that is they don't go to adults when they need it because they're scared they're going to lose their device. If you can remind them that you are a safe place to go, they're going to be much more willing to share with you when they do need help. One simple mantra I like to use with my family is stop, walk, talk. And we practice it as a drill, just like we would for a fire drill or a tornado drill or all the other events that we might have to know what to do in a time of need. We practice when we see something online or on our device that makes us feel uncomfortable in our bodies. The first thing we do is stop, then we walk to a trusted adult, and then we talk about what we've experienced without the fear that we're going to be blamed or shamed. Third is consider the wait until 8th movement. This is a movement that's encouraging people to hold giving devices to younger and younger children. Today, the average age of a first phone is 10 years old, and it's dropping every year. Kids don't have a fully formed frontal lobe in their brain that helps them anticipate consequences of their choices until they're 24 years old. And a lot of the choices that are following kids in the days that everything is documented are impacting their lives for long times to come. By delaying as long as possible, you're mirroring a lot of the behaviors of the technology insiders, including myself, that have had a part in designing some of these capabilities. And we know that they're really important to let your child develop before you give them access to things that can be addictive. Fourth is buy technology that's made for kids. Vote with your dollars. When companies see that there's money to be made in this market, they're going to start catering to the market more and more. I've seen some early solutions out there that I think are really fantastic. One of them is the Gab phone that came out last year. For under $100, you can have a device that looks like a more advanced phone, but doesn't allow them access to the internet or apps. And this allows them to have the fun and the features of a phone without having to take on all the responsibility of anticipating what could be documented for the rest of their lives on social media. The other thing I recommend is a company called Bark, and they do an app that allows you to monitor your child's social media feeds as they age up, and it is appropriate for them to have access to those things for signs of cyberbullying, sexting, suicidal ideation, anxiety, depression, drug use, and much, much more. It allows you to have a window into the digital lives of your children using technology to only serve you alerts when something is potentially going to be a problem versus looking at their phone day in, day out, which is incredibly ineffective. The likelihood that you're going to know where to look when somebody's trying to hide something from you is not very high when kids are always going to be ahead of the parents on technology. And last but not least, I think it's really important to tell the companies that you expect more from them on the digital safety front, whether this be gaming companies, social media companies, phone companies. Please make your voice heard that it's important that we do not leverage our future to satisfy our immediate desires for a fun and engaging experience. There's got to be a balance between privacy and security and safety, and please make sure that they recognize that that's important to you as a consumer. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you spending time to learn a little more about a difficult topic, but I want you to leave feeling empowered that there's some very simple things you can do to help your child navigate their online lives in a safer way so that they have the future you envision for them.
Fantastic. Lisa, thank you so much for that wonderful information. We're going to get started back up with our next speaker in 9 minutes. I wanted to speak a little bit to what Lisa said. You know, I have 4 teenagers, and so I can relate firsthand with what she's saying. And my wife and I feel like we're pretty proactive with our kids and talking to them about these things. But what I got from Lisa's message is to be even more proactive. I think she hit on something that's really important, is that it can, be embarrassing to have these conversations. It's embarrassing for the kids. It can be embarrassing for the parents, but they're so necessary because, with my kids, I might be with them, in the most, 3 or 4 hours in a day, and in many days I'm with them less time than that. They're teenagers and they're off doing their thing. And to her point, they can just delete the information off their phone, and so it's more about really just having these proactive conversations. And so I'm going to take from her share to be even more proactive with my kids. And so, Lisa, thank you so much for that great message on a topic that maybe isn't the most fun topic to talk about, but I can tell you firsthand, it is so important. Like I said, with 4 teenagers and what the photos that get exchanged back and forth, and the type of text communication, and the adults that are lurking on social media. One of the most popular platforms for kids right now is TikTok, and that's it's a musical and dancing app primarily, but there are a lot of adults on there, and I can almost guarantee there are adults on there that have bad intentions. And what kids want is the same thing that adults want on social media. We want likes and comments. And Facebook and Instagram, they know that, and that's why they count likes and comments, because they know that is addicting to us to get that type of recognition. So thank you, Lisa, for that great message. And like I've shared with you, we have a tremendous speaker lineup, and we're going to bring up in 5 minutes our next speaker, Pastor Ray, who he is the lead pastor at the church that I attend, Bayside Church, and he is a global human being. He's really just an incredible human being. He has a great message on hope to share with you guys. When I reached out and asked if he would speak, I was just like crossing my fingers, hoping it would work for his schedule, and it worked. So we're going to be hearing from him in just a little bit. So let's take a little 5-minute break, and then we'll come back up with our next speaker, Pastor Ray.
Loves well if they don't think well. And I think for somebody tuning, like I've had a ball listening to this morning, and you're just going to go, you're leaving this thing smarter. And when you think better, you live, love, and lead better. So number one. Number two would be this: nothing great happens to a person until it happens in them. In other words, if somebody wants a better future, when good things happen in you, then they happen through you. And so we have a Thrive conference every year, one in Northern California, one in Southern California. So when the Thrive conference, when COVID shut it down, I was discouraged, and I've discovered the quicker I let go of discouragement and replace it with dreaming, everything gets better. So we started dreaming up. Yeah, there's the lineup on the screen there. We started dreaming up. Could we do the world's largest, absolutely free, global, compassion first? It's basically a fundraiser, but could we get anybody we wanted to speak at this thing and literally have it be worldwide? And it was 8 weeks ago, it was a dream. Now it's a reality. There's already, as of yesterday, there were a little over 110,000 people registered for it. We actually haven't even started a massive marketing campaign yet. It's anchored in Europe. It's anchored in the US. And people like Eric, people like you were speaking, Simon Sinek, Lecrae, Rick Warren, Christine Kane, Henry Cloud, Condoleezza Rice confirmed 2 days ago, John Maxwell confirmed 2 days ago, Bob Goff is in, Roma and Mulva Downey and Mark Burnett are friends of ours. They are not only are they attending it, next week they are putting it on all 25 million people that they have on their social media platforms. Carrie Newhoff's in. We actually have about 80 of these people. We've got worship bands from Thrive Worship to Rend Collective to all this stuff. And the cool thing about I'm not aware of this ever happening. Every single speaker is free. None of them are charging, and we have 5 major cause areas: fight sex trafficking and poverty among kids, and it's all kids and COVID. So we're going to try to raise enough money to deliver 1 million meals to kids. The third world right now is a mess. I mean, developing countries, COVID is just hitting the hospitals. They have no idea even what's coming their direction, because it hasn't even really, it's going to explode there. So we're actually doing some hospital support for third nation countries, things like that. So it's been really fun to put it together. It's been a track race, but I don't think we've never seen anything happen this fast with this many great people.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And before I have you get into your message today, there's a quote. I quote you actually quite often with this particular statement, and I just wanted to have you comment to this. And you say the #1 job of a leader is to stay encouraged. And
You're exactly right.
Can you speak to that?
Yeah. All of you listening, my life changed about 8 years ago. My daughter Leslie came home, and she said, "Hey, the professor told us we had to write a paper on a leader." She said, "I picked you, and they know who you are, so they said it was okay." So she goes, "I have 20 questions, and you have to answer them all honestly." Yeah, I mean, anybody listening want to do that with your teenager? So we went and hopped in. We have a jacuzzi in the backyard. I thought, I'm going to end up in hot water. Let's just start there. So we sat in the jacuzzi for 2 hours, and she fired 20 questions. Her last question changed the kind of my perspective. She said, "What's the most important thing you do as a leader?" And Eric, I'd say the same thing. I mean, you're a dad, folks here, you're married, you're a husband, you're a wife, you're some of your single parents, some of you are most of you are leading something. What's the most important thing you do? And I looked at Leslie and I said, by far, the most important thing I do is this: make sure I stay encouraged. And the reason, and she looked at me confused, like probably everybody on here is going, "Is that really the most important thing?" I looked at her and I said, "Look, if I'm not encouraged, I will never be the leader I need to be." I pastor a church for people that don't like church. We got a ton of Baysides of 18. They need me to be encouraged. The last thing they need is a discouraged pastor. The last thing my kids, I got choked up and I said, "Honey, if I'm not encouraged, I will never be the parent you need me to be. If I'm not encouraged, I'll never be the husband Mom dreams up I could be someday." So by far, the most important thing anybody does is make sure they stay encouraged. And Eric, I've been on the phone with 2 world-class leaders this week. Both of them called and said, "Hey, can we talk?" Both of them were discouraged. And I said to them, the single most important thing about your organization is your level of encouragement, because you can track everybody's life. If their encouragement level goes up, if their discouragement drops, their encouragement level goes up, then all of a sudden what happens is it's game on. I mean, they have an incredible future. And if that doesn't happen, they're in decline. The results of my life usually follow my encouragement, discouragement level by about 3 months.
Yeah, when COVID happened, initially, probably like so many people, I was stunned by all that was going on. And at first, I just needed to get my feet put on the ground and get myself grounded. And one of the things that I do is I lead a 15-minute daily motivational call. And so people call in from all over the world. We have a couple hundred people a day that plug into this call. And I reflected on your quote many times. And I want to just pat myself on the back a little bit for I've done a good job of staying encouraged to lead my community.
Yep.
And I just want you to know that statement has really had a profound impact on me personally.
Well, thank you. It's funny that conversation with Leslie was 8 years ago. That led to me writing a book, and believe it or and it was funny. The book took 7 years to write, and because what happened is there's a lot of trite stuff, and what I realized is hope is a result, not a primary cause. In other words, there are things that if you build them into your life, like a lot of people, Eric, today at the end of this call, at the end of your show, a lot of these folks are going to have a higher level of hope. Okay, hope is always the result of doing something. And I read all these books on hope, and I thought they were trite and dumb. So we did a 7-year research project, surveyed 1,000 people from every state, and basically said what causes hope. And we discovered there are 7 things that actually cause it. Okay. And if you'll build these 7 things into your life or into your kids or into your business or into your family, then your hope level will rise. But if you don't build these in, then you have a limited future, and so will your kids and family and everything else. So I'm glad my daughter triggered a book.
Fantastic. Well, why don't we lead that into your message? I know that your prepared message today is around hope. And so why don't I'll turn it to you and you can go into that message.
You bet, Eric. And by the way, if you're staying on, interrupt me and ask anything you want.
Okay, sounds great.
It'll feel like my kids. The first thing I'd say is this. What we just said is this. The single most important thing in your life is this. I have got to get rid of the grip of discouragement. And 4 quick facts about discouragement. Discouragement is a universal disease. We all get it. Okay, matter of fact, you have a hand raising function on this thing. Click it if you've been.
Yeah, let me get in there right now. I'll put all the hands down, and yeah, I can have people. So if you want to direct them to raise their hand, go ahead.
All you gotta do is just raise your hand if you've been discouraged in the last, I don't know, year. Raise your hand if you've been discouraged last week. Raise your hand if you're discouraged every time you hear a politician talk. Yeah, we probably shouldn't go there. In other words, discouragement is a universal disease. We all get it. It is a repeating disease. You can catch it more than one time. It is a contagious disease. You can catch it from discouraging people. All of you, all of us in our lives, we have people, when they're going to come visit, we know it's going to be discouraging. You can catch it from people. You know, the problem is this, it's universal, repeating, contagious. And the real problem is this, it's deadly. It's deadly. It will wreck your life. It will destroy your insides. It will make you miserable. You and I end up enduring life instead of enjoying life. It drives people into alcohol addictions, drug addictions. And the real problem is this, it's a massive limiter to your life. So for example, the conference, Eric, that we were just talking about, I love our Thrive conferences. I mean, we shut it off at 4,000 people at Bayside up in Northern California. And then we open it in Southern California and we shut it off at 2,000 people in Palm Springs down there. And it sells out every year, weeks in advance. It's one of my favorite things. I'm an extrovert. I like people. And in March, when we had to pull the plug on both conferences, I was discouraged. I was bummed out because I was going, I love those 2.5 days with fired up leaders and all these speakers we bring. It's my favorite 3 or 4 days of the year. And then I felt like God said to me, the quicker you let go of discouragement and you replace it with dreaming. And it was a new thought for me because when I wrote the book, I basically went, how do you move from discouragement to hope? This was a whole new level because if I move from discouragement to hope, I get better and the people that are around me get better because I'm better. I went, if I can let go of discouragement and let go of that grip and get out of that prison, but I replace it with dreaming, then all of a sudden anything's possible. In other words, the world becomes a better place. So if somebody's here and you're going, I'm discouraged about my teenagers, if you can replace that with dreaming, then all of a sudden you might be able to lift your kids, okay? And the same thing.
How do you practically do it with dreaming? Is it a question or what is the exact process?
No, man, Eric, you should interview me every day on all my stuff. You're brilliant. You're good at this. Here's what I'd say is, there is a word in the Bible, okay? Some of you are Bible people, some of you aren't, doesn't matter. There's a word, I was an atheist growing up. There's a word in the Bible that is so powerful that nobody knows is there. Jesus looked at the disciples, and frankly, let's admit it, they were a mess. Okay. I mean, Peter, he was whacking off guys' ears, denying Jesus. I mean, he was a mess. Okay. The disciples were always arguing about who was greatest. Jesus is going, this is going to be great. And Thomas is going, I doubt it. And Jesus looked at the disciples, and they were a mess, and said, follow me, and I will make you, and here's the word, become fishers of men. And the second, when I read that word, I went, that's it. That word is magic. The power of that word, to me, it's one of the most important words ever spoken, because here's what happens. That I had, Carol and I raised 4 kids. They're all off parole now, so we're feeling better. But when we raised our kids, I remember occasionally looking at Carol going, why did we have these? And when the teenage years, what I had to basically go, I have got to stop seeing my kids like they are right now. I've got to see them in terms of what they can become. And the minute the minute somebody goes, whatever is discouraging me, I'm discouraged simply because I'm seeing whatever it is in terms of what it's like right now. Okay. If I can stop doing that and see it in terms of what it can become, then all of a sudden I get lifted and they will get lifted. And the matter of fact, if we're having a conversation with somebody on this call and they were deeply discouraged, the root isn't what's wrong. The root is I'm discouraged not because of my finances or my problems or whatever it is. I'm discouraged because I'm seeing it as it is right now instead of seeing it. If I'm discouraged about my marriage, it's because I'm seeing it as it is right now instead of seeing it as some folks listening to this, you're discouraged about your weight, you're discouraged about the shape you're in or your finances. If you can stop looking at things like they are right now and see it in terms of what it can become, it's a whole different ballgame. Okay. And so, Eric, about 10 weeks ago, when we pulled the plug, I was discouraged because I was looking at our Thrive conferences like they are right now, which is shut down. And then I went, what could this become? Like, there's no limits. Okay. Like, Eric, when we locked the doors of our church 8 weeks ago.
Let's talk about that for a second, because, that's something that I think anybody could understand. They could put themselves in your shoes and go, okay, we can't have church service right now, which is, it's like shutting down a restaurant, shutting down a movie theater, shutting down the church. What did that do to your psyche? How did you respond to that?
You know what? My first response was, oh man, I'm going to be working from home. I'm going to clean my garage. I'm going to clean my office, all this stuff. I thought, this is going to be it. I have been busier than I have ever been in my entire life. Matter of fact, almost everybody that's running anything is busier than ever been. It was almost like you had to learn to play tennis left-handed, and then you were playing in Wimbledon against Federer in 2 weeks, that sort of thing. And so I think everybody's stress levels off the chart, all of that kind of stuff. So I actually, I wasn't discouraged. I moved really fast to, we have 18,000 people. How do we take care of them? How do we make sure they're okay spiritually? And for Eric, for example, and so I actually went into leader mode fast. I pretty much, on this one, other stuff discourages me. On this one, I went, let me turn off my phone. On this one, I went, I have got to get, it was pretty much like, if you're a parent, you're pretty much going, who cares how I'm doing? I got to lift these kids. Same thing. We have 18,000 people at church. We had to get them all online, and we have multiple sites. Okay, Santa Rosa, all of this stuff. And
I want to jump in for 1 second, because some of you might be listening right now, and you're in a leadership role, and maybe you didn't jump into leadership mode right away, and that could be a great takeaway for you, is to take a step back and really, from this moment forward, powerfully go into leadership mode. Okay, continue on, Ray.
Yeah, and by the way, and I think the best, we could talk about that in a few minutes, the best way to do this is to make sure your support level matches your challenge level. And that's another, Eric, that's another conversation. I basically went, and then I just started asking, what can this become? Well, the first thing we did is all of our staff people made 30,000 phone calls to find out if everybody's, we called every single person in the church and said, what do you need? Then our staff delivered food to elderly people. Our Santa Rosa church, we are going online, but they have a lot of older people at the church in Santa Rosa. So they actually went and they visited 200 of the older members in the church, and they taught them how to get online. They bought them Rokus, and literally all these old folks, they hooked them up to their technology. They taught them how to use it just so they could go to church and talk to their kids worldwide. And so so pretty much had to jump into leader mode on that fast, okay? But the big thing for me was this: when the Thrive conference, I basically went, the minute I stopped being discouraged and started going, what could it become? Because Eric, what happened is we had 18,000 people going to our churches. We shut down, went online. The next week, I actually thought we'd have only about 5,000 people online with us. The next week, there were 46,000 people in church. Last weekend, there were about 250,000 people in church. People have been going to our church service from 100 different countries. We've never seen anything like it. And the walls that I thought were keeping people in were in fact keeping everybody out. And it's interesting. I felt like our church we didn't shut down. And the minute we sort of let go of disappointment that we can't meet behind the walls and dreamt with, maybe there's great responses to this, and maybe this could become some amazing things, all of a sudden the whole world opened up. I mean, it is even when we go back and we start meeting again, which will happen, I think, in about 21 days, even when we go back, what's going to happen is this: we will keep our online church will be bigger than any building of people we have. All that happened fundamentally because our staff, myself, moved pretty rapidly from discouragement to dreaming, because I mean, that changes everything.
Yeah. I've got one more question for you. And I had a conversation with John Valinsky, and I was involved with the campfire relief, and my wife and I started a Facebook group while the fire was still burning up in Paradise, and the group went viral, Ray. We had over 34,000 members in the group. We became the largest social media platform in that whole process for about 8 months. And
Awesome.
One of the things that started happening is I started receiving a lot of negativity online. I was being attacked online. I was being I had never experienced anything like that. And I was seeking out mentorship from John, and he was telling me a story about a time when, if I remember correctly, you were doing some building. I think it was when the church was being built in the first place, and you were being picketed, and it was raining out, and your leadership came to you and asked you, what should we do regarding this? And you said, take them umbrellas and donuts. Could you speak to how to respond in that scenario when you were being attacked, if that's what you felt you were, but you came from love and compassion? And I don't think people normally respond that way when they're being confronted. So could you just kind of speak to that mindset?
Hey, first of all, what in the world were you getting criticized for? You're the nicest guy in the world. You're just trying to help.
I think what happened was I've never been involved in disaster relief. And so just one quick thing, we were recognized by FEMA. FEMA gave us a booth in the FEMA building in Chico. We were the only non-organization to have a booth. So we were there with Red Cross and FEMA and all these other, big organizations. And I think that some people that had been in disaster relief as a career were jealous that my wife and I were getting all this recognition, which we were. And so they were using their social media platforms to discredit me, to create like questioning my motives. And we didn't open up the Facebook group for it to just take off. We were just trying to help out a few people and do the good neighborly thing, and God had other plans, and the thing became this huge thing. And I think that's why people were attacking us.
Yeah. I have one principle, and then I can tell you sort of how we responded. By the way, I get this all the time. I mean, our webinar for pastors is packed, and I'll bet I've said this 100 times in the last week. And if you are listening and you're being criticized for anything, which we all get, and social media has made this worse, okay, by far. Here's my phrase: never listen to criticism from anybody you wouldn't turn to for wisdom. Never listen to criticism from anybody you wouldn't turn to for wisdom. That will free you up, because almost all of the critics aren't doing anything. Matter of fact, there's only one way to avoid criticism: do nothing, be nothing, help no. I mean, Eric, the only reason you got criticism is you were trying to help people. So and so what happened at Bayside is this: our first church was in Granite Bay. Now we have a ton of churches all over the place. Our first church was in Granite Bay, and we bought 36 acres on a major road and went and got a permit to build a church building. And a small group of residents began to coalesce and were against our church being built in Granite Bay. And we mitigated all the concerns they had, but somebody talked to me, one of the people talked to me and said, well, I'm against your church because you attract, quote, outsiders. And nothing in Granite Bay should attract outsiders other than Folsom Lake. And I looked at him and said, we have never paid any attention to anybody's address, anybody's economic condition, anybody's ethnicity, and we will never start now. So one lady actually said to me, she goes, we will sue you and tie you up into courts for years. She actually said it'll be a cold day in hell before you're meeting on that campus. Wow. Back then we were meeting at Granite Bay High School. It was a rainy morning, and I drive in. We had about 4,000 people back at the high school, and I drive in, and there are anti-Bayside protesters, about 6 of them, out front picketing the services, like actually picketing a church. And so I pull in. And the Bible says we're supposed to love our enemies. And I believe this: we should be responding to people the way we choose to respond to them, not how they're responding to us. So the Bible says, hey, if somebody's on the opposite side of the fence, they're your enemy, you're supposed to love your enemies. And so we decided, it was a cold morning. We bought them hot coffee and donuts all morning long. It started raining. We brought them umbrellas. They were passing out anti-Bayside literature to everybody walking in. We said, it's miserable. If you want to go home, we promise we will put that in all the bulletins so everybody gets a copy of what you're passing out. Would you like us to correct the spelling first? And you know what was cool about that? We just kept trying to take that thing. We got permission to build. They actually, this group of residents, and by the way, most of these people I think were good-hearted people, and they had been told things that weren't true, like this is going to turn Granite Bay into Los Angeles, which never happened. All this stuff. Most of these people were good people, but they actually sued us. We defended that in court and won. The minute we won, we met with them and said, hey, look, why don't we just let the whole thing go? You can appeal this if you want, but it's not going to work. And we actually offered to give them all the money back that they spent for legal stuff.
Wow.
And we said, you can give it back to the people that gave it to you, or you can give it to a cause, but we'll give you all your money back if you don't appeal this thing, and let's just part ways friends. Eric, on the first day we met, somebody comes up and says, hey, there's a guy that wants to see you outside. He was one of the opponents. So I walked out, and this guy lived near, and he said, I walked to church this morning to see what was going on. He goes, I really like the service, and I really like your message. He goes, I was one of the lead opponents, but he goes, since I can walk to church, if it's okay with you, I'm going to come to church here.
Oh, wow.
That happened with more than one. Somebody came and said, hey, can I talk to you? And I said, yeah. And they said, we were against this, but we were so impressed with how Bayside treated people. We are going to come to church here. Is that okay? And I said, we started this church for you. Absolutely. So the problem with enemies or critics, you're going to have them. You cannot let them control you on the inside. Matter of fact, if I can give you 2 words, here they are: rehearse or release. Okay. If I'm at odds with somebody, I rehearse the conversation. Eric, you ever had imaginary conversation with somebody where you win the whole argument? You just go,
Right.
it ties you up in a notch, it makes you miserable. You can rehearse, or you just go, I got to release this. I got to release this, which means then you're free from the grip of it. So they're not determining your inside level of joy and hope. You can let that go, because a lot of people are angry on the inside, and they're being made angry because they're being controlled by people they don't even like.
No.
So I'm sorry you got criticized. You were doing amazing stuff. Valinsky and I talked about that. I knew what you were doing. I'm going, and by the way, do it again.
Yeah, it was a wonderful learning experience, and I'm proud that my wife and I responded to the tug on our heart to do something, and we certainly didn't do it for accolades. We were doing it just to help, and it was pretty amazing. At our height, we were creating $50,000, I estimate, in real value per day for the community, and donated RVs and gift cards, and we went and raised a couple $100,000. I've never raised capital before. We went and raised money through a nonprofit. It was a pretty amazing miracle-like thing. And so John really helped me through that time. I was seeking him out on a regular basis, asking him for advice. So when I reached out to John and asked him if you could come present here, I was just, like I said in the beginning, I was so happy that it worked out. That you could be here and you could share with my audience your message. It was a wonderful message. And why don't we just one more time just remind people about the Thrive Conference that's coming up. What's the dates of that?
The dates are June 15th and 16th. It's a Monday, Tuesday. And it basically, picture this. It's like somebody took Live Aid, TED Talks, and a Christian leadership conference and smashed it all together. And that's exactly, there are like 80 communicators, and it's going to be rapid fire. We've got comedians, bands, all that stuff. They can go onto the thriveconference.org. What's going on right now is a lot of business people are having everybody in their company register. And because, hey, it doesn't cost me, it's free, and it's great leadership training. So
yeah, so what I want to encourage all of you to do, free event. It's going to encourage and inspire you, just like what we're doing today. You guys can go register there and take the link and share it with your networks. Share it with your company. Share it with your database, your email list. Share it on social media to help get the word out about this great free event that normally it's an in-person training, but because of the COVID, it's now gone to a virtual event. Well, Ray, thank you so much for your incredible contribution today. I know I'm speaking on behalf of everybody watching. We all greatly appreciate your message.
Eric, thank you. Anytime, man.
All right, fantastic. Well, we're going to take a short little break right now, guys, and bring up. All right, everybody. Well, welcome back. We're off to a great start. We've had 3 speakers now. We're up for our next speaker, and Tom Daves. I've asked him to come and present. He is an elite real estate professional, just a very high performer. And he's here in the community. I know Tom personally. I've worked with him and his team, and I just thought it would be wonderful to hear how does he approach his day? What's his mindset? What does he do to stay productive in these challenging times with the COVID situation happening? Some of you, maybe your production has gone down, or your mindset has been impacted. And Tom's a living example. So Tom, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'll stay on the line here, be right here with you on video if you need anything, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, that sounds great. Can you hear me and see me okay? Are we good? Awesome. Okay, well.
Yeah, we're good.
All right, a little bit about myself. I'm Tom Daves, pretty much born and raised in the local Sacramento area. And I got into real estate at a very young age, and my big why is to serve God, my family, my community, my team, my health, and it's just been a really fun life, and this is such a great event that you're sponsoring here today, Eric. So I'll just kind of jump right into my day, and a lot of the things that your previous speakers have said have really rung true. I mean, I just love what Ray was sharing about leadership, and my definition of leadership, again, is to serve others and to help and to give back. And during this most recent pandemic, you know, things over the last 10 weeks, man, they've been difficult. A lot of people have gone through a lot of trials and tribulations. I mean, our lives have all changed. Our worlds have changed. And, you know, there's three key ingredients for anyone to have a successful life or a successful business. I've always believed number one is mindset. And those are some of the things that I believe ever since I first started in the real estate business back in, I don't know, about 40 years ago. I started when I was 12, but I went to a positive mental mindset conference, and there was Clement Stone, there was Art Linkletter, there was Zig Ziglar, there was all of these speakers that were talking about positive mental mindset, and they became my mentors. And I've always believed that you need to think big, go big, be positive, and constantly be learning and growing. And I'm constantly listening to podcasts, reading books, and, you know, because we really only have two choices in life. Number one is our actions, and then number two is our attitude. So I've always had, in most cases, a positive attitude. So the first key is our mindset. The second key is how we spend our time. Do we spend our time doing good, positive things? For example, how I spend my time is I'll give you my schedule. Basically, I get up in the morning and I read the Bible, I pray, I journal, drink 20 ounces of water, and then I work out. And that just starts my day off on the right foot. So again, the first thing is mindset. The second thing is how we spend our time. And then the third thing is who you spend your time with. You know, Jim Rohn says you're the sum total of the 5 people that you spend most time with. And I teach the same thing with my kids. I have a beautiful wife and 3 children. And, you know, I share and try and teach them that they can hang out with winners, and they're going to end up as a winner and go in the right direction, or not. So those are really the 3 key things that have really helped me: is mindset, how you spend your time, and then who you spend your time with. So yeah, as the pandemic first started, I really didn't know what was going to happen. As you know, I'm in real estate, have a real estate team, been in real estate for over 40 years. And one of my favorite sayings is from Wayne Gretzky: you have to skate to where the puck is going to be. And so whether it was traditional real estate, or whether it was flips or foreclosures and REOs, or working with large iBuyers and private equity, or having a big team, it's always about skating where the puck is going to be. So when this pandemic first hit, I'm like, okay, where is the puck going to be? How is this going to change our lives? And how is this going to change things? And in real estate, you know, we basically had to shut down our office. Everyone had to come and work from home. And we had certain constraints with working with clients and showing homes, and no open houses, and of course, taking safe precautions with wearing gloves and masks and all those things. But to be honest with you, I was pretty surprised about how nice it was working out of home. Have a beautiful home and beautiful family, and can spend time, of course, working here in my office, but then I can also take a break. And, you know, my wife is a great cook, and she, you know, most of the time will bring me breakfast, lunch, and then we have dinner together. We take a break. It's nice to kind of take a nap. Although I'm probably snacking a little bit too much, to be honest with you. I don't know if any of you have experienced that. Shelter in place has put on probably a few pounds on me. But anyway, so with real estate, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I kind of freaked out. I have a big team, and I let a couple of people go. And I thought, man, this is going to be scary. And, you know, it's really easy to get sucked into the fear. But my faith in the Lord has helped me through the fear, push through it, and just focus on the Lord, focus on my attitude and my actions. And we immediately started with my team. We immediately started morning huddles. So every single morning at 8:45, we would have a Zoom call, and we still do Monday through Friday. We have a Zoom call, and we talk about what's happening in the marketplace. We talk about, hey, tell me something good. What's happening? And I go over some different teaching and coaching. And what we immediately shifted to is we immediately shifted to serving our clients, not selling, serving. So we called all of our clients, our database, our sphere of influence, everyone that we knew, with what we called care calls. And so we would just call up our clients and, you know, hey, I'm just checking in. It's Tom Daves. How are you doing? I'm checking in. How are you holding up through this? This is a care call. And is there anything that you need? How is, you know, do you need a care package? Do you need any services at all? And it was just amazing, the response that I received, just because so many people would say, wow, you know what, I'm kind of having a tough time right now. I'm shut in and we need some food. We just need some staples. So, you know, I delivered anything from food and staples to, you know, toilet paper when I could get my hands on it, and other different products that people really needed. So it was just really rewarding, and it wasn't even a sales call at all. And it wasn't about selling, it was about serving. And it was probably more about getting mind share now, you know, to just really share with people, to let them know that, because a lot of realtors and a lot of people in business, I mean, they've just kind of shut down. Well, I'm just going to shut down and wait until the market comes back, wait until this is over with. So we just upped our game with really, really serving people and helping them. And since just last week, someone called and he said, hey, I want to list my home with you because you were the only one that called and asked how we could serve and how you could help. So it definitely is rewarding to help and to serve others. And I'll tell you what, we are busier now, and I just heard Ray say the same thing since this pandemic. I think part of it is because of the low interest rates, and there was a little bit of a pent-up demand, but we are busier now, and I believe we're going to have the busiest summer that we've ever seen. So we're just serving people, and we're helping them buy homes, sell homes, and just having a lot of fun. So there's a little bit about myself, Eric, and kind of my morning routine and my mindset. And so I'd like to open it up to you, Eric, to see if you have any other have any questions that you think the audience might like to hear today.
Sure. So tell me a little bit, Tom, about, you know, coming up through the ranks. And now tell me if did you get to a point where you started being ranked nationally in terms of results as a real estate agent? Is that accurate?
Yes, I was actually the #1 agent worldwide for 7 times with Keller Williams Realty.
And that's amazing. Now there's thousands and thousands of agents at that time that you were ranked #1. Is that true?
Yeah, about 180,000 agents, Keller Williams.
The #1 out of 180,000. Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you do that? When was there like a shift in your thinking where you knew, man, I'm good at this? What did that happen early on, or was there an event that happened that shifted your mindset?
Great question. Well, when I first started in the real estate business, I would just soak in everything and take in all of the training. And I was doing everything. I was, holding open houses. I was taking floor time. I was knocking on doors. I was helping others any way that I could, making cold calls. And I got a little bit overwhelmed and a little bit of anxiety. And I told myself, the first thing that happens, that's what I'm going to focus on. So, and I got an expired listing. So I narrowed my focus. And so I believe that was one of the main pillars that really helped launch me to success, is to just narrow your focus on the Pareto principle, the dollar producing activities. There's the 80-20 rule. There's 20% of your activities that'll give you 80% of the results. So I've always just, #1, narrowed my focus to what will provide the most results. In fact, I have a little sticker here on my computer. It says, until your #1 priority is done, everything else is a distraction. So you've got to continue to make your calls, make those care calls, and narrow your focus. And then the second thing, I believe, was, as I mentioned, Wayne Gretzky, you have to skate to where the puck is going to be. I've been able to align myself with the real estate cycles, actually, in most cases, ahead of that real estate cycle, whether it was traditional real estate or foreclosure scenarios, or the iBuyer private equity purchase, the team. And I believe that if you can align yourself ahead of the curve, then you're going to be able to leverage your actions with the market, and it's just going to launch you exponentially. So those are some of the keys that have helped my success, and it's just been fun. Real estate, I'll tell you, it's definitely a roller coaster ride. You can go from the heights of exaltation to the depths of defeat within the same 60 seconds sometime. So that was a great question. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, and one thing, there's a cliche. It's true, but it's a cliche. People hear this all the time. People buy from people that they like and trust. Okay, so now the question is, how do we get somebody to like us? And I want to point out something fantastic about your personality to give everybody something to think about, and then I want to ask you about it. And so something that really struck me the day that I met you in person for the first time is when I spoke to your team at the conference room, where you meet with your team prior to the shelter in place orders. And I was waiting my turn to speak, like I always do, and you were acknowledging your team. You were being positive with them. You were encouraging them, and enthusiasm is contagious. And so people in the room were feeling good because you were transferring over enthusiasm to them. And so, and you do that with me. When you and I interact, you're always positive and encouraging. Could you just speak to, is that something you do intuitively, or is it you do it with intention? Talk about encouraging others to help them feel good.
Great question. So I believe that is one of the gifts that God has blessed me with, is the gift of encouragement. And I think that it's probably just, to be honest, maybe it came from either a little bit of maybe a slight lack of self-confidence, because I'm a great question asker. I would love to ask people questions. So because when you want to take the off the pressure off of yourself, ask a question. And so that then grew into creating really good rapport with people, because who doesn't want to talk about themselves, right? So I feel that I've been able to ask great questions and really care about people. And I just love the saying that people don't really care how much you know until they know how much you care. So I would ask great questions, I would listen, and then of course that creates that rapport. And then I've just always been positive. So I've always just taken that rapport to an encouragement and encouraging them to move forward. I mean, even, you know, with my kids, my son Grant, when we were out on a bike ride and he was really small or whatever, and he would just wipe out and fall, I would just say, and then he would just pop right up. I go, great recovery, you know? And so I definitely believe that God has blessed me with the gift of encouragement.
Yeah, and for all of you watching, if you don't feel like that's part of your natural gifting, you can put intention on it. You, like Tom has his sticker on his desk there talking about doing what's most productive, and you could have a little sign to yourself reminding yourself, hey, be encouraging. And it's really easy to do it electronically on Facebook, for example, or any social media platform. Somebody posts a picture of, maybe they're proud of a cake that they baked, and you can just go in there and just type a little encouraging thing. And you know, I'm an encourager as well, and one of the things about people is that if people feel good when they're around you, they're going to want to be around you. You know, and we all have those people that we don't want to be around, because when we're around them, they don't make us feel good. And in sales, rapport is one of the cornerstones, and so of the sales process. So something to think about as far as getting people to like you by just pointing out things in them, finding the positive. And in our remaining time, Tom, I'd like you to speak to somebody who maybe they're watching this right now and they're lacking confidence in sales. They've never had sales success before. They want to get better at it. They're new to sales. What tips how would you advise somebody if they were new to sales? Do you believe they can get better? And if so, what should they do?
Great question. So there's ready, there's aim, and then there's fire. So when I first started in the real estate business, I was more fire, fire, fire. I mean, I did spend some time getting ready, and then I did spend some time aiming, but I just spent most of my time just fire, 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 out there meeting people, calling people, and serving others. And there's a great saying about people don't learn through what you tell them and through facts. People learn through experience. So I just would encourage anyone to, yes, you know, get ready, and then yes, aim, but then fire. And don't let rejection bother you. I mean, most cases, these people are strangers. I'm not going to let a stranger ruin my day. If it was my wife or if it was a really good friend, but they're strangers. And so by talking to those people, and then if we talk to enough people, I mean, even a blind squirrel can find a nut, right? If we talk to enough people, we're going to have a win. And then once we have that win, we're going to have a success, so we can tighten our belt. Okay, I'm going to go get another win. And then I always say sales usually come in threes. So once you get that first win, that's the time to put the pedal to the metal and talk to more people and keep that momentum going, because you've got a high level of confidence, just like anything else, whether it's in sports or in business or in life. It's all a confidence game, and your confidence is going to grow from your positive experiences and from your wins.
And when you started, what did the activity look like? Like, take us back to the early days when you were building, what kind of volume of activity were you doing?
Great question. So with when I first started in the real estate business, I would get on the phones and I would call. It wasn't a cell phone. It was just the old handheld, you know, rotary dial. And I would get on the phones and I would start calling. I mean, I hate to admit it, but I would start calling people at 7 a.m. in the morning. I would call at 7, and I would call every single day. I would call until noon. So just call, either cold calling or calling expireds, and just staying on the phones. And then I would set appointments in the afternoon, go on a couple of appointments. And I'm a big water skier. My license plate is H2O skier. So I would be out on the lake at, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. My work was done. I would be out on Folsom Lake or Lake Clementine, barefoot water skiing.
Fantastic. So I want all of you to think about right now, are you in enough action, right? There's thinking and there's strategy, which is important, but action. You heard from Pastor Ray, he's in action right now. You heard from Tom, Tom's in action right now. I'm in action right now, right? I want you to think about, is your activity where it needs to be? And if not, maybe that's one of your takeaways from today. Hey, today from Sacramento Motivation, this event, boom, I'm going to step up. So Tom, I want to thank you for being with us today and sharing from the viewpoint of, you are a producer. You're out there making it happen every single day. You produce in terms of being an agent, you produce in terms of leading your team, and you gave us a great, great message. So thanks so much.
All right. Thanks so much, Eric. Have a good day.
All right. Oh, you're there, correct?
Hi.
All right. Fantastic.
We're
Well,
excited to be here, Eric.
Awesome. I'm so excited to have you. Just for all of you that are here, Kelley she might have been the first person I reached out to when I had the vision for this event. We were actually talking about this event prior to making the decision to go virtual. And I just felt very strongly that I wanted to have her be one of the speakers. I've known Kelley for many years. We have done a lot of business together, and some people you just enjoy doing business with. Some people you do business with because you want what they have, they want what you have. I just really thoroughly enjoy working with Kelley. She's an extraordinary human being. She is the executive vice president at LoanPal, which is one of the area's largest employers. She also is a best-selling author. Her book is Big Voices. She is an international speaker. She loves sharing the wisdom and strategies to ensure people maximize their potential and success. And she's just a very evolved human being. She has a great way of looking at things and thinking about things. Her topic is creating an abundant mindset. And Kelley, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Eric. Number one, just for being an extraordinary human, but also just making this space for everyone. I've enjoyed all the speakers so far. Quite honestly, I want to run home and grab my kids' cell phones, so thanks, Lisa. And, it was awesome just following Tom Daves. Number one, I've been just a huge Tom Daves fan since I got into the business, and he really does live what he talks about. And it's awesome when you see people, because like they shared, information is not the key, practices. And so really seeing people in business practicing some of those principles is really important. And so if there is a major takeaway for all of you, it is that, this is not just an event. Today should be that catalyst for making a decision. And so as I share on creating an abundance mindset, some of you are going to look in the mirror and really be able to see some opportunities that you have to reset. And the one thing that I know is that a reset is possible. Being a speaker for over 20 years, I used to share so much information and strategies with people without realizing that it really came down to rewiring your brain, which is completely possible. So it does not matter where your mindset is today. You just have to believe in this infinite possibility that you can create a new experience for yourself. So on my personal growth journey, what I've really found are just the keys to living an extraordinary life, which could include having a thriving business, relationship, you know, really just deep, meaningful connections with other people, just comes with kind of a series of things. And that first aspect is having a vision for how you want to feel. So it doesn't matter where you are today. Like, you just have to know, this is where I feel. Maybe you're depressed and anxious today, and you know that you want to feel more joyful and more freedom and more fulfillment. It doesn't matter. Just knowing that you have a vision for how you want to feel is going to set you up to create some really powerful goals, action steps that you can take in order to be able to get there, and then being able to just create the plan and habits that are going to help you every single day. The next aspect is you have to have the right mindset. So your mindset, and I'm going to go into this deeper, is just really the set of beliefs that dictate how you experience anything that you face. Some of us are experiencing COVID with optimism and gratitude and just believing that this is just an opportunity for us to reset and make some powerful changes in our life, where other people are experiencing it with fear and anxiety and worry. And so you have to understand that your mindset is what really dictates it, because all of us have faced a lot of major changes. The next aspect is you've got to be able to take action, which means you've got to have the activation energy to get up off your couch or out of your desk or wherever it is to be able to move forward towards your goals and your plan. And the last thing is energy. And energy is something that people don't often think is something that they can master. I want you to know that energy is within your power to control. So that's part of that mindset, is believing that I have the ability to create more energy by focusing on things that I'm more passionate about, or by sleeping more, or reducing stress, or doing and connecting with people that bring me to life rather than suck the energy out of me like an energy vampire can do. So you really have to see these series of things that you've got to string together. And today I'm really focusing on one of them, which is creating that abundance mindset. And so what is an abundance mindset? You know, Stephen Covey really just says it's a concept in which a person believes there are more than enough resources and successes to share with other people. So what that means is there's more than enough time, there's more than enough energy, there's more than enough opportunity, money, love, you name it, you are just overflowing. And most people don't live that way. We live in scarcity, which I'm going to share a little bit more on. But really, when you think about an abundance mindset, why wouldn't you want to adopt one? Why wouldn't you want to face everything as a possibility to grow and to create more for yourself, rather than oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening to me again. I just went through this. What's going on? So you've got to just decide that you want to choose an abundance mindset for yourself. And there's so many powerful beliefs and benefits that come along with it. So number one, it is the belief that you are the creator of your success. Now for myself, I'm extremely faith-based, so that is in tandem with my creator. However, I know that I am the one that creates my success, not markets, not COVID, not anything other than me. I am the one that creates it by what I focus on. Now, on the opposite side of that are people that believe that everything is dependent on external forces. So when you own it, you will change your experience. You are going to feel more empowered with an abundance mindset, because things are still going to come at you. They're still going to happen, but you're going to feel so empowered that you can handle anything. You're also going to feel inspired. We all need more activation energy to be able to get up and do the things that we know we should be doing, even when we don't feel like doing them. So when you work on something bigger than yourself, you know, for us at Lone Pal, we are working on climate control, and we are trying to make a massive difference in the world. So we've got a nonprofit that's put over 3,000 schools with solar, and we're creating water desalination plants. That is what I get inspired about every single day, to come here and do the things that I get to do. I get to change the world. And so you've got to find something that you're really inspired about, and that comes from abundance. If you're in a job that you don't love, you can still go out and find inspiration outside of it. Now, if you can blend the two together, that's fantastic. You also have to be flexible and adaptable, which means you just get knocked down and you get up again. You know, I kind of look at COVID as being one of those, I don't know if you remember that toy from when I was little, but it was like a big bag with a bean bag on the bottom. It might have had a superhero, and you could punch it and just pop right back up. That's what being flexible and adaptable means. The people that are afraid to change are the ones that are experiencing a lot more scarcity. The next aspect of an abundance mindset is you feel worthy because you're more than enough. That's probably one of the largest aspects of this abundance mindset. You know, you're able to override. Now, I wish I could teach you how to get rid of the voices in your head. It's a big piece of what my last book was on, is managing those thoughts. I wish I could remove the thoughts of unworthiness. However, I don't know how. And most people don't know how. We can help you, but it's really an important thing that you just look at it and say, I know that I'm worthy. So anytime I have some of those thoughts, I'm going to be able to override it. So you've got to believe that down into your core, that you are confident of success no matter what. You've got to be excited about challenges and see them as growth opportunities. So, you know, I believe, along with many other great leaders out there, that life happens for us. And what that means is, as we see a challenge, we don't look at it like a problem. It's just an opportunity for us to grow. It's a big piece of how I raised my kids. You know, I believe that they chose me to teach me the lessons I was unwilling to learn on my own. So every time they trigger me, I just see, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to become more patient. I'm going to become a better version of myself because of this, rather than feeling like it's happening to me. With an abundance mindset, you're also going to energize and inspire other people. It is not a coincidence. Like, success isn't just about luck, it's about mindset. You know, you've got to be that person that's just constantly influencing others around you. And so in order to do that, nobody wants to hear you complain. If you complain all the time, you aren't going to be as inspirational to other people. So if you want to be a leader, you want to magnetize your business for more people to come in, you've got to get away from that. Also, with an abundance mindset comes clarity, because again, there's just more than enough time. There's more than enough energy. And so you're clear, like, I know what I want to create. I want to, you know, start a business in 5 years, but I also want to have enough money in reserves so that I don't feel like I'm in scarcity, but you're really clear about the steps that you need to take. So those are just some of the beliefs and benefits. On the opposite side of that is a scarcity mindset, which is you feel like a victim. Again, life happens to you. You're frustrated, anxious, overwhelmed. You know, you're focusing on what's not working. Really, abundance and the law of attraction is all about removing resistance. And that resistance is the focus on what's not working. You've got to learn how to focus on what is. Sometimes we need to take our eye off of some area in our life. Maybe it's your kids or your job or even the amount of money in your bank account. Don't focus on it. Just know that you have this bigger vision and continuously be able to visualize what it's going to be like when you have that $1 million in your bank account, when your teenagers are more connected with you one day, whatever that might be. And you also feel a lack of freedom. And so it's really important that you look at this and get really honest with yourself. Where am I on this spectrum? So if abundance is where you want to go and scarcity is on the opposite end, maybe you put yourself as a 5 today and you just want to continuously move towards that 10. Again, it doesn't make any difference. It just has to be the belief that you can choose this. You can choose to adopt the beliefs that I just shared and be able to see things differently. Now, it takes a lot of awareness, right? You've got to be in this state of absolute awareness. So that is step 1 to creating an abundance mindset. Know that you aren't your thoughts. Your thoughts are going to rule your life. You know, one of my favorite speakers out there, Dr. Joe Dispenza, talks about your ability to either talk to your brain or listen to it. If you listen, you've got so much programming that's deeply in there that's guiding you. And then if you shift to talking to it, like, you're amazing, you can do anything, you have more than enough time, energy, education, money, whatever that might be. So you've got to know that you are not your thoughts. So you want to become aware of them and the power that they have so that you can override some of them. You've got to practice gratitude. really important that gratitude is an actual practice. Every day, take some time, write down the things that you're grateful for, including the challenges. I'm grateful that, you know, my kids are challenging me right now because I used to think everyone needs to like and love me all the time. And now I know, like, there's just seasonality. I'm still grateful for that experience. You've got to believe in unlimited possibilities. So if you've got $5 in your bank account today, and most people have started there at some point in their life, maybe you're starting over in a business or COVID just depleted your assets, it does not matter where you are. You have to believe in this idea of unlimited possibilities. You can pivot. You can create more abundance for yourself. You also have to cultivate and share your purpose more. People want to work with people that have a bigger vision other than just, oh my gosh, I have to pay my bills. So you want to share it. Always, like Eric, being a great friend of mine, I know his purpose is to change the world. Like, he wants to have conversations with everyone that can really help him share his message more. You also have to create mastery. So when you focus on what's working, continuously dedicate more to refining those skills that have gotten you there, because it will create even more opportunity for you. You can't just stop. You know, I look at communication and people take for granted how they communicate. I have invested tons of time in how I communicate to become a better speaker or leader or more influential. Like, dedicate some time into mastery, take courses. I mean, most of the Ivy League colleges right now have free stuff out there. Really just commit to mastery in certain areas of your life. And if it were me, being somebody that hires a lot of people every single month, emotional intelligence is the most important area that you can really focus on right now, because that's what we're looking for. You also have to choose your language wisely. So many people don't realize the things that we say, like, I'm overwhelmed, I have too many problems, this is never going to work, this is killing me, I can't believe this. That language is devastating you because your brain's listening and saying, oh no, she's dying, she can't keep up with this pace anymore, I better shut her down. My immune system stops working. Now I've got laid up in bed for a week, or back pain, or whatever it is. So you've got to really choose your language wisely. You know, I've studied neuro-linguistic programming, as many other speakers have. And when you start to understand the power of language, you will start choosing your words a lot more wisely. Got to continue growing every day, invest in yourself. You've got to think like a beginner. You know, most of us in business, we've had to relearn things. We've had to, you know, improvise. I was a beginner at, how do I train our team now being at home? What's that going to look like? So you always want to think like a beginner, because that's going to create abundance for yourself. Got to focus on what's satisfactory. This is by far the most challenging aspect of an abundance mindset. You constantly have to look. When you're looking at a freeway, if there's traffic, you can't focus on it. Like, you have to focus on when there's not traffic and celebrate that. If that makes a lot of sense to you. I mean, so many of us just complain because we think our time is scarce. So we're so afraid of it. When we expand and we get to this place where we really focus on what's satisfactory, we will start to release a lot of the things that aren't, because we are the creator of our reality. We attract in what we really need. And the last aspect is to create some new affirmations for yourself that are going to support this. And I would tell you there's two ways to rewire your brain. The first is through cognitive behavioral shifts, like looking at I am statements every day, creating affirmations, adopting a practice to help you override some of this faulty thinking that you accidentally picked up along the way. The second is through mindful meditation, which goes a little bit deeper. Either way you go, you are going to release yourself from some of those old beliefs and thoughts that you shouldn't be carrying on this next aspect of your journey. So the last thing I'm going to touch on, and I know I don't have much time, are at the same time that we're building this abundance mindset, we also want to be aware that we actually could have some blocks that are really deep in our programming that are stopping this flow of opportunity. They're stopping us from being magnetized to money and other things. And so at the same time, you want to be aware of it. So I'm just going to share a couple of the top abundance blocks that I see. First one is judgment. Judging other people And a lot of people right now, I'm actually seeing them judge other people for judging other people. Like it just gets stacked up. It will block abundance. We want to be in this state of utter acceptance of how other people live. You know, the way that I live, I can't judge other people for it. I can't judge my kids for not wanting to do everything that I tell them. Like we want to release that because it will open up this flow of opportunity. We can also have some money beliefs from childhood that might be stopping us. Things like money doesn't grow on trees. Well, I believe money's energy. I believe it flows to me just because of who I am. That's a much more powerful belief. Money is the root of all evil. You know, I can tell you, I'm somebody that tithes 10%. That's not true. I'm able to make generous contributions to the world because of the prosperity level that I'm at. So you have to look at this and say, what beliefs did I accidentally pick up from my parents? Saying things like, we can't afford that. Like you want to believe you can afford anything at any point, at any time, potentially in the future, and really just, you know, I would say remove some of those blocks. The next one is a belief hard work is the only way to success. I am watching so many successful people suffer because they're living on adrenaline and cortisol right now, which are two energy sources that you do not want to be living off of. There is another way that has a lot more ease, where again, you just think about that next person that you need to connect with, and then boom, there they are. They're right there in front of you. Or you think about calling somebody and they call you. It's so easy. You're magnetized to all of those opportunities without having to work as hard. Now, I'm somebody that believes that you can have alignment. You can have it all. You can have the great career. You know, for myself, I have my career and I'm able to write books on the side in just a short period of time every day because I was focused on it. The last abundance block that I would tell you is doubt and fear. If you have doubt and fear, please invest the time in working with people or finding resources for this, because this is not how you're supposed to live. You should live free, just freedom from any of that, and that will absolutely help you. So again, there's just a few things that you can do to create more opportunity and abundance for yourself right now. So I'm just going to tell you a few that are going to open up a little bit more flow. Number one, ask for help more clearly. Be really clear about what you need help with. Eric started this conversation with find a few people that you can connect with and clearly ask for help. It's amazing what will happen. Develop your skills. That will also create abundance. Maybe you don't have a lot of business right now, but you can work on things that are going to generate business in the future. You've got to let go of your lower return on investment activities. Really look at everything that you were doing before and ask yourself, is it really in alignment with my major vision, or can I let that go and start to focus on those highest return on investment activities instead? So those are things that you can do right now. So I'd love to connect with you guys later. I do have a few gifts that I know Eric's going to share with you later. You can take the quiz at Big Voices Rise quiz and get some of those free gifts from me. You can also just connect via email. I work with a small number of business owners and helping them create more abundance, both in their life and in their business as well. So I've loved sharing with you guys. Eric, again, thank you for creating this space. And that's all I've got.
Awesome. Let's take a moment. I'm going to put your screen on the website, your website on the screen here, and let's tell everybody about your free gift. So the URL is bigvoicesrisequiz.com. And can you tell everybody what that is?
Yeah, you're just going to get our essentials toolkit that goes through those steps in the very beginning, from creating your priorities, your vision, your goals, goes through some tools on removing self-sabotage and other things. It also has a stress reduction video as well, which is super important in the season of COVID as well.
And I wanted to, do you have another minute or two?
Of course.
Okay. So one of the things, guys, that's it is unique with Kelley. I'm a professional speaker, so there's a lot of us speakers out there, and Kelley she speaks professionally as well, but she's also a successful businesswoman. So she's running the company over there at Lone Pal and hiring people.
Helping run it.
What's that?
I said helping run it.
Helping run it, right. So she's a businesswoman. So she is doing, and performing at a very high level. So she's a speaker and somebody who's out there producing great results in business. And, you know, we all connect with different people. And there may be some of you listening right now that because she's a successful businesswoman and she's also a speaker and a trainer, you know, that may be the type of mentor that you're looking for. So, you know, I just encourage you, they'll get on your email list if they do the quiz. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so Big Voices Rise quiz.com, and, you know, just take 2 minutes and tell us about one of your books. I know you've written several, but tell us about one of your books.
Yeah, so Big Voices was, to be quite honest with you, it was my healing journey. My family went through a lot, and I was in a place where I went through a career shift. I lost my mom. I had a sister with mental health issues, and I was stuck in overthinking. I was stuck in anxiety. And it's my journey about how I was able to come out of that and create a life for myself that is by design, where I looked at how I wanted to feel. I want to feel fulfilled. I want to feel like I have more meaning. I want to know that I'm giving back and contributing. And that meant leaving a very prosperous career to take a risk with Hayes over here, originally at Paramount Equity. And now we've built, you know, the largest solar financing company in the nation. And it's just about, a lot of times it's about that surrender, letting go and recreating something new for yourself, because you don't have to feel stuck in your life. There is opportunities to expand. And, you know, I want to give everybody some hope and inspiration that you can always create ands. Like, I love my job and I love writing and I love speaking, and you can have it all.
Outstanding. Well, Kelley, wonderful to have you here today. I want to do this event annually, so I definitely want you involved again next year. And just a great message today. Thank you so much for sharing.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
All right. So we're going to bring up our next speaker here in a little bit, and let's take just a little short 5-minute break. And I love this format where, you know, normally to hear 8 speakers, it would take 12 hours, and we're doing it in 4 hours. So you get, you know, it's just cool. It's just really cool. I love the format. I love that we can do this virtually. So we're going to come back here in 5 minutes. Let me put this up on my screen. And okay, let's see here. File, new. Be back in 5 minutes. And we're either going to have our regular speaker or we're going to flip-flop them. We're going to have a great speaker coming up. It'll be one of our next 2 speakers, and we're going to have Raul and James, or James and Raul, in that order. So be back here, guys, in 5 minutes. And feel free to go post on social media about the class. Share the link at sacramentomotivation.com. Tell your friends they can come join us. We still have Raul, James, and Ruthie Bolton, 2-time Olympic gold medal winner, to present. So let's take a quick break. All right, so I am so excited to have our next speaker, Raul Lopez Jr. He is here in the community with me. He's one of the top seminar leaders, speakers, promoters. And when I came up with the idea for this event, I was like, I have to have Raul come and present. He's got a great message. And I'm going to turn on over to you, my friend, and the floor is yours.
Hey, thanks, Eric. I appreciate it, man. No, this is fun. I've been watching everybody, and I know a few of the people that have come on, so you've got a great crew here. This is the Sacramento motivation. So I thought I'd stay a little bit away from the business stuff personally, because a lot of what I do, as you know, is a lot of life strategies. Where we come from, what we do, learning from our past. So I thought maybe we could have a cool conversation, and I'll just start with a little bit about me. Locally here, I've created the Tag Talks Forum, which stands for Transparency, Acceptance, and Growth. And a lot of that came from a passion that I have to help people understand some of the challenges they may have had in their lives and how we can turn them around. So I usually will bring people who have had some really difficult times, who have come through trauma, and they've found tools to be able to change their life. And so I bring them and they share their story and they offer the tools to anybody that's watching that's looking for some help. That's based on the forum that I've created. Then I've also written that book, Heal the Boy and the Man Will Appear, based on my background and just trauma from a very young age. What I want to talk to today to the audience is a little bit about what's happening now. I know a lot of people are challenged, they're stressed, there's anxiety that some people have never felt, there's some depressions that some people have never experienced. So we talked about titling this Learning from Your Past. So if you are in life or in a business or a career, what I've kind of come to, and I've had a couple of other conversations about this, is that in 2008, similar happened in regards to people's lives were changed in business and or in life. So I remember back then, right? I had a very successful business. I was in the real estate industry, and that was really hit hard back then. And basically, the strategies that I was using in my business was I was doing rehabs, I was doing pre-construction, I was buying complexes and flipping them. I was doing a lot of different things in the real estate industry. When everything dropped off, I allowed myself to listen to the news, to listen to the media, to listen to what society was saying in regards to everything's done, everything's down, everybody's going to lose everything. So I went and I dropped with it based on what I was listening to, right? I allowed to be myself to be influenced by the economy. And what I realized is that as things were dipping, this also creates a ramp. So there were other people coming up as I was allowing myself to fall. So it took me actually quite a while. It took me a good 8 months to a year and a half to really understand and go, you know what, I can create my own economy. I can build and do whatever I want to do. I just have to get my mindset and not worry about what people and what media and what people are telling me is going on, and I can just create my own thing. So what I did back then is I really stepped back and I studied and I looked and I said, okay, it was a tough time. Nothing was moving, really. I mean, there was some things moving, but the majority of the mainstream was not moving. And I kind of asked myself, what should I do? And I say this for people right now who are going, what should I be doing? And I asked myself, what should I do? And I looked for myself, what do people need and have to do every single day? What do we have to do every day? Regardless, what do we have to do every day? And the two things I came down to were we have to eat and we have to get dressed. Amongst other things, those were the two things that I narrowed business down to. And I thought, you know what, I don't want to get into the food industry. And I started looking into the fashion industry. I had never been in the industry before. I started looking into it. And within 6 months, I'd built a six-figure business to start in the fashion industry. Within a year, I built up double that. And I had a retail store locally here in Sacramento at the mall. I had 2 warehouses where I was distribution warehouses where I was selling wholesale products. So I had my retail and I had my wholesale. And what I've taken from this round is as soon as we got hit, I knew, okay, this is happening again. Everything's falling off. But I remember the ramp. If it's going down, there's a ramp to come up. And I thought mentally, I'm not going to allow this to shut me down. I'm going to have to look for something new because I do live events. There are no live events right now. In fact, I had 3 live events lined up, and I had to cancel them all because of what's happening. So I could have sat back and said, okay, here we go again. Society says this, society says I can't do this and I can't do that. And I could have sat back and lost like I did last time. But I said, no, I'm going to take this time to create. I'm going to take this time to come up that same ramp where everything's falling off. I'm going to come up. And what I've done, or what I'm in the middle of doing, is something that I've been wanting to do for a while, is I've taken everything that I teach from stage and I'm making it digital. I've wanted to do that for a while because I found anybody here that's in whether life coaching or business coaching, you'll find that usually when you have a new client, you're basically starting them off, warming them up, or you're talking about the same thing in the beginning. And each client you start with, you kind of have the same concept, the same foundation, I should say, to get started. So what I'm doing is I'm putting that foundation digitally, and I'm going to be able to offer that course to people so that they can have that foundation. And then when we start working, whether it be one-on-one or within their business, they're ready to go. So again, learning from the past. Last time I allowed myself to fall, and I lost quite a bit. I lost pretty much everything I had at the time, like a lot of other people did. And then I fixed, or I started to think. I was working on my mindset. What am I thinking about? What's going on? What are the stories that I'm telling myself? What am I allowing people, society, the media to speak to me that I'm accepting? And if you are allowing the media right now to tell you what to think, then possibly you're full of anxiety. You may be falling into depressions, and you may be just sitting there waiting, hoping and thinking that this is never going to end. I say to you, create your own life. I say to you, create your own economy. I say to you, get out there, meet people, continue to meet people, whether it be on a Zoom call or a webinar, or making phone calls and talking to people. There's always something that we can be doing to be going up that ramp instead of falling down it. So with that, I'd like to say what I'm really excited about this digital course that I put together. It's not ready, so I'm not selling anything here. I'm just letting you know because I am excited about it. It's titled The Truth About Depression and Anxiety. And I'll tell you, in my lifetime, I've been diagnosed with extreme depression. I've been diagnosed with anxiety. I've been diagnosed with PTSD, and I've also been diagnosed with personality disorders. And I remember when these kind of diagnoses came, in the beginning, I accepted the label, and I thought, wow, this is why I'm feeling, acting and doing these things that I'm doing. But I didn't allow it again to sink in. I didn't allow it to tell me how I had to live or how I had to be. I chose my thoughts. I practiced silencing my mind. I practiced meditations, a ton of prayer, seeking science. I talk about mind body, the science of the mind, but the spiritual side of who we are and what we have in Christ. So I put together this course that I'm really excited about. It's called The Truth About Depression and Anxiety, and I'm passionate about it because I have been diagnosed in my life with all of those things. So what I'm really teaching is core tools that I've picked up over the last 20 years that have helped me go from long spurts of depression and short spurts of happiness to reverse that. Because I'll say, as from what I've learned, I don't know that if you have these mental health challenges that they'll ever go away. I refuse the prescription medication personally. I use food, the right foods. I've done a lot of studying on foods, what I eat, when I eat them, and then a lot of mental work as far as studying, listening to the right things. So I was able to reverse that to longer spurts of happiness and shorter spurts of depressions or anxieties because I know how to control them. So I'm super excited about that. It's something that'll be coming soon, and I'll be launching probably in the next 3 or 4 months. But it's to help people. I've found in my life that I've had success in various businesses like real estate, like the fashion industry. But what I've always find myself coming back to is what I've survived, and that people need to understand that if you're living in a darkness, if you're living in fog, that if you've had some trauma as a child, that you don't have to label yourself as this is just the way I am. There's nothing I can do about it. There's ways to change your mindset. There's ways to change your heart and what's deep in it. And there's ways to heal. So I offer that to each and every one of you. Eric, I don't know that I have a whole lot more than that. Do you have any questions that might have came up based on what we were talking about?
Let's talk about honesty for a little bit.
Okay.
With the work that you do, and I know you do a lot of work, or have done a lot of work with men, in getting to just like getting them to be honest at a deeper level of honesty than they've ever been before. Is that a true statement?
Yeah, the honesty, I think, portion comes from being honest with ourselves, if that makes sense. We have to understand that I've learned this, that most of our challenges, all of our challenges, they are really within. If we're frustrated, if we're angry, if we're quick to anger, really it's something that's internal, that we may have some form of association to whatever the situation is. where we get triggered and we get angry really quickly. So going back and understanding some of these core things, like I was telling you, there's a foundation to understanding who we are, why we do the things we do, why we act the way we act, and why we feel the way we feel. In order to understand those things, we have to be honest with ourselves. And we got to be able to admit and understand our weaknesses and our strengths, right? So yeah, I very much so work with people as far as being honest and authentic. But first it's with self, and then we can go out and we can, worry about what other people are doing.
Yeah. And when you were talking about flipping, a lot of time in depression, little time happiness, and then flipping it, could you give one or two nuggets on what do you actually do in your brain? Like, what questions you ask? Is there a process? Could you give a couple nuggets on that, on how you do that?
Yeah, the first thing is to seek some answers. Understand that you can change the way that you think, the way that you feel, and the way that you act. A local pastor here in our area, Pastor Francis Sanfuso, really helped me 15 plus years ago when I was in the middle of all of that, or trying to come out of it, but didn't really know how. And he was the one who said, learn to quiet your mind, soak in prayer, meditate on the good things. And that was the first three things that I started to do. And it wasn't easy for me. It took practice, because he said that to me and I accepted it. And I said, okay, I'm going to work on that. What I didn't do was I'll go out and get help with it. So I think I could have achieved that a lot sooner. But what I practiced and I tried, and I started reading the Bible. I started listening to like Tony Robbins type stuff. I started listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza, where he talks about neuroplasticity and how we have connections, neural connections, and that we can think differently and be differently. So the first thing, as far as those tools go, is that to understand that you can quiet your mind and to practice that. And the way that I was able to do it, because my mind always was this. I mean, it never stopped from the time I became conscious and woke up in the morning until I fell asleep. My mind would just always run, and it was usually negative. And what that goes back to is, as we thinketh in our hearts, so are we. What was here, what I was listening to, music, the movies I was watching, the stuff I was into, it was here because it was what I took in all the time. So it's also what was here, and it's also what came out. So the first thing is to learn to quiet your mind. And how I did that, because it was difficult for me when I would start to meditate, my mind would still run, is I would think of one thing. So if you're trying to quiet your mind and your mind is running through a million thoughts and you can't do it, it's not simple in the beginning, is think of one thing. Think of, and I was talking to somebody and I was giving them an example, coaching with somebody across the table at a coffee shop, and they had a glass of tea. And I said, think green tea, green tea. I mean, you can pick anything you want. You can think of your child, somebody you love, one person, one item, one thing, and just think about that over and over again. And what you'll see is that you'll be able to think of one thing, and your mind won't be doing this. You can picture, you can imagine, you can think of one thing, one person, whatever it is. And that'll help you a ton to get you to a point where you can quiet your mind and think of nothing. The other thing, after when you get used to quieting your mind, the whole meditation, there's a great app, and I'll tell you what it is. I don't get anything out of telling you what this is, but I've been using this for a couple of years. It's called Brain Tap. Well, I don't know if you can see that. It's called Brain Tap Pro, and this app, I pay, I think, $10 a month or something for it. And it has all these different types of meditations, whether it be motivation, whether it be depression, getting past, things that have happened to you in your life, stress-free, optimal health, worry-free, weight loss, children and learning. It's a great app, and it's made by a neuroscientist. And you use headphones. It works best with headphones. And it has these different binaural beats that go. I put
it on the screen. Did I spell that right?
That's exactly right. Brain Tap Pro. Yes. It's an app. I got it on my iPhone. But what it does is it's created by a neuroscientist, and it speaks to you in your ears in different volumes. So, he'll be talking in one ear and also in this one, but on a lower level. And then there'll be certain binaural beats, and it just really refreshes me. And like I said, I recommend it. I don't own it. I don't have anything to do with it except that I use it and I love it. So if you want some guided meditations, there's guided meditations there. And then there's also just music only. It's an amazing app. It'll help you with these tools, with quieting your mind, with learning to meditate. If there's something I can tell you to start with or suggest that you start with, it is that. One other thing that, well, I do a bunch of things, but one other thing getting started is to change your routines, because you talked a little bit about, rewiring our minds. And changing your morning routine, changing the way you drive to work, listening to something positive first thing in the morning when you wake up, instead of just picking up your phone and going through your emails or looking on Facebook. If your guys' Facebook feeds are anything like mine, everybody right now is talking about this current pandemic or something that's happening around the United States, and most of it is negative. So if you get up in the morning, the first thing you do is you feed your brain negativity. That's the start of your day, and that's most likely going to be the rest of your day. So start a morning routine. Get up, a half an hour earlier than you usually do. I drink a glass of just room temperature water, maybe with some lemon in it, and I move my body. I walk around for a while, and either I listen to nothing or I put on something that's positive. If you've never done that before, that's a new routine. Your mind will be uncomfortable with it, but it's a start to something new. Other things you can do very simply to start rewiring your brain and get your mind used to new patterns, new habits per se, is to even brush your teeth with the opposite hand that you usually do. You'll be very uncomfortable, but that's what you're doing. You're triggering your neurons and you're starting new processes. And then I think I said it, drive a different way to work or to your office or wherever you're headed in the morning. Drive a different route, because like if you're like most of us, then you drive to work without even thinking about it. And sometimes we get to work or our office and we go, how did I even get here? I don't even remember driving here. It's because you're just in this habit. You're in this trance of doing the same thing every day. Change up a few things that you do from your morning routines, and you'll feel refreshed. You really will. Your mind will start to open up, and you'll be able to start practicing some of these new things that I would suggest for you.
Fantastic. Now I just put up your website here, and I just messaged it to everybody in the chat. And
Okay.
Is there anything you want to highlight on here about how people can connect with you or get on your list?
Yeah, well, this link here, if you can scroll up a little bit, I believe this is for my free habit finder assessment. And what this habit, there you go, you can get on right there. And if you click that link where it says free habit finder assessment, and then there you can contact me via email. But where it says free assessment, if you click on that, it takes you to my habit finder coaching program. And it's a quick 5-minute assessment. You kind of put these statements in different orders, and it tells you, I mean, it's amazing. It'll tell you exactly, how do I put this? You'll relate to it. You'll read the results and you'll go, wow, this is really how I feel. This is really what's happening in my life. And what it basically does, when you put these different statements in order, it reads you. And this is like, from what I understand, it's like a multi-million-dollar program. And I actually went through this coaching program also. So I paid myself to go through this program, understand it, be able to coach people through it. But what it does is basically there's an alignment of who we are, right? Who we are, who we're born to be. And then it'll either go to the left or to the right where we're off in that alignment. And it doesn't mean we'll be off on every subject within that, but I'd really suggest that you take this. It's free. There's no obligation. You get in there and it's going to email you the results, and you can go through them yourself and read through them. Or if you'd like to contact me, I can go through them with you. I offer, I think, a 30-minute, going over this assessment. And I like what it says there. Are your habits of thinking supporting or sabotaging your success? And I talk about that a lot. Are our habits helping us or hurting us? So many things that we don't understand about what we do here, that we're conditioned over life, and that we just do on a daily basis. This will help you figure some of that stuff out.
Fantastic, Raul. Great message. Those are some great nuggets, and I really appreciate your contribution today.
All right, Eric, thanks for having me on. I look forward to doing something live with you when we can get out there.
That sounds great. Sounds great. Appreciate that. Yeah, Raul and I, we love being with people at the live events. So when we can get back out there in person, hopefully next year we're going to be able to do that. All right, well, we're going to take a short little break, and we're going to bring James up. We're going to talk about getting ahead financially, building your financial team, wealth concepts, success ideas. So we'll be doing that here at 12, so in 7 minutes. So we'll just take a quick little 7-minute break. And while we're on break here, I want to just do a couple of announcements with you guys. So one is that if you want to get in touch with any of the speakers and you didn't get the information, like you weren't able to get the website that they promoted or whatever the case may be, this is my cell phone. So I have all the speaker information. We're going to email it out to you guys as well. This is my email, eric@ericlofholm.com. So if you wanted to get connected to Raul, but you weren't able to get the link, just send me a text. Hey, can you connect me to Raul, or can you connect me to Kelley or Tom? And we'll get you the right information so you can follow up with them. And one of the things I really enjoyed about what Raul just shared was like the example, brushing your teeth with your left hand. I'm going to try that. I've never done that before, but I like the spirit in the idea. And so sometimes I'll order out, be at a restaurant, and they'll bring me the food, and they don't bring me what I ordered. So let's say I ordered my eggs scrambled, and they brought the eggs poached, and I never order poached eggs. Instead of setting it back, I'll usually just eat whatever they brought me. And it's an exercise in trying something new. And who knows, maybe I love poached eggs, right? And I really liked what he was saying about trying new things, and it kind of does the different connections in your brain, driving to work a different way, listening to different types of music. Just switching things up, doing things in a different way than what you would normally do to learn, because to go to your next level, I can almost guarantee you it's going to require a new and better version of you. Same old equals same old. So, a lot of you know my story. I'm a former cook at McDonald's, and now I'm an international trainer. I'm a very different, I think very differently than when I was a cook at McDonald's. And it's been a bunch of different, like, step up to the next level. Okay, step up to the next level. It's just ongoing. Keep going as I going to higher ranks within my career, and it requires that I think differently, expanding comfort zones. So we have two final speakers today, and I just acknowledge you guys. Pastor Ray mentioned this. He acknowledged you for being here and just really valuing you bettering your skills, hearing different speakers. And I already said this, but I just love this format. I do a lot of speaking where I'm the only speaker, which is fine, but it's a lot of fun to bring on other voices. And I love having male and female speakers because it's a different perspective. It's a different energy, right? We got business people. We're going to have an athlete train us in a little bit, Ruthie Bolton. Pastor Ray spoke. We got speakers. There's a great mix of different perspectives today. Real estate professional. And it's just, I love it. I'm so glad you guys are here. All right, well, let me get James on here. And let me start, James, by unmuting you. Hey, James, how's it going?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Do you want to do PowerPoint? Do you want to do video? What would you like to do?
Both.
Okay, cool. All right, so let me make you presenter.
Okay.
And
then
if I need to send you a webcam, but yeah, I'll send you the webcam so you can turn that on once you get the request there.
Okay.
Still have a couple of minutes, but we'll get you all, and everybody can hear us, which is totally fine. And we'll get you all set up.
All right. Well, it may not stop screen sharing. Show. I'm not seeing my camera or sharing my screen. Okay. Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yeah, I can see it, and then there is a webcam button visually I can see there on your screen.
Okay, share the webcam access. For some reason, it goes into the private settings. So let me see if I can do that.
Look at on the top of your screen there when it says now viewing your screen, no, oh, that's mine. That's my webcam. And you know, if we're unable to see your smiling face, that's okay.
Well, that would be a first. I'm looking at it. Yeah.
Sometimes the technology works. The good news, the most important thing, James, is we got your audio. So that's the most important thing. Second most important thing is we've got your PowerPoint, and then if we can on top of that see your smiling face too, that'd be super. But if it doesn't work, just don't worry about it. It's no big deal. And while James is working that out, I want to tell you guys something really awesome about James. And there's certain ways that we're the same, and there's certain ways that we're different. And one of the ways that we're different, which is a good difference, is I'm work. And James is work, but he also really enjoys his life. And that's something that's very important to him. He values that. And I really respect that about James, is that he has a really nice, he goes for what he wants in terms of being successful in business, and he is very successful. And then he also has this really great, enjoyable life. Him and his wife do a lot of trips together, and they love skiing, and they love water skiing, and they travel, and they do festivals and all this really fun stuff. And, you know, he shares all that on social media. And I really, I admire and respect that in James, that he is able to be successful in business and also be successful in his leisure time. So James, why don't we just ditch the camera? It's not a big deal.
Okay, I'm done.
And then if you want to just go into slideshow mode, you know how to do that?
Yep. Well,
Perfect.
am I not in slide mode?
Yeah, there we go. That way it looks great. Everything looks good. We're recording. So let me just tell you guys a little bit about James. I was talking about him briefly here. I've known James, I don't know exactly how long it's been, but it's been a number of years. It's been over 5 years. It might even have been as many as 10 years. We've done a lot of business together. And James has a conference center in downtown Sacramento. And we've collaborated a number of times where he's allowed me to do events there. And I've done events with his team. And so we know each other very well. Very high character human being, very smart when it comes to financial matters. And he has a great message that he would like to share with us. And so, James, I'm going to turn it on over to you.
I appreciate it, Eric. And yes, we've had a lot of funs with you when the event center was open. Just like Pastor Ray said, though, you know, you've got to make some changes when some things happen. And this isn't the first time that we've had to make some adjustments. So first off, I want to thank you. I feel honored to be in your circle of influence with all the people it's been on. It has been absolutely amazing to see what you've put together. And, you know, Pastor Ray brought in some leadership. I am definitely going to share the Thrive Conference on June 15th and 16th. Very excited about that from the leadership standpoint and being very, very faith-based. Also, I wish my camera was open because I now have a book, Conversations with Top Real Estate Investors. I am in the book. So thank you, Eric. You know, one of the things that you kept talking about, scripts and books and things like that, has now been, you know, implemented in my life. So I've got to say thank you to, you know, yourself and everything you do to help support not only myself, but everybody that's online right now. So I got a question for you. What do you think is the number one thing people think of the most?
And are you asking the
Yeah,
audience?
I'm asking that, meaning that most of their day is spent thinking of what?
Maybe money.
That's it. They go to work for what? They offer services for what? So the idea that I put on the screen is that, you know, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. But, you know, we've got to understand that there's some needs in society. But what do you think is not talked about? Money. So growing up, I grew up in a trailer park and I was very happy, but I had very little money. My plan, I got in the military, and as I went into the military, I picked a cause to fight for, which is the fight for freedom. And I got to give it up to all the first responders, all the military people out there. My life for 20 years was given up. Now, while I was in the military, I was always seeking supplement income. I started a second business. I did some direct sales. I owned a salon. I became a real estate agent. And as I moved from, being an agent and got out of the military, I also met my wife, who went to school. She was a nurse, first responder. And of course, when we put our finances together, in debt up to our eyebrows, basically no time with the job, I went in to work with clients, and everything was about, we gotta go get more money. We got to make more money. You got to pay off this debt. And what you think about most of the time is what you're going to become. Well, the real estate cycle hit in 07, which put a huge focus on what do you do when you can't make money? Well, COVID has given this opportunity to a lot of people. And this opened up my door way back when, saying I had put all my eggs in one basket. But I changed fairly quickly, and I got into the education field. See, what Tom Davies said was one of the most valuable things is skate to where the puck is going to be. See, business right now, in the next 5 years, they had projected the online e-learning industry to go from 100 billion to 300 billion, and that's where the money's at. But COVID hit, and what do you think happened overnight? See, Raul even said it. I'm going to put together an online training. Now we're going into Zoom. Schools have been shut down. So the e-learning industry, which was projected to build over the next 5 years, did it in 1 month. And my office had to shut down. So Eric, you said it right off the bat. My financial freedom, my real estate investor community, the office in Sacramento, the event center, boom, shut down. My real estate, short-term rentals, Tahoe, shut down. But this is what was interesting. I didn't put all my eggs in one basket. I live in a very methodical world of cash flow. Cash flow from business, cash flow from real estate, cash flow, cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. And it's all based on relationships. Eric, we have that in a very high level, and I want to appreciate it. It was awesome to be able to hear Pastor Ray and some of the other people. And I'm going to talk about that because I'm going to review some of the things that they were talking about. And it was interesting. I had to change this slide right off the bat. What's the most important thing you do? Pastor Ray said it best: stay encouraged. See, the mindset and the emotions that come out is really where you have to be focused. Let's imagine feeling your future, and then in future self, and then becoming that. So when somebody is given a situation, you have the thing about Pastor Ray said, go inside and become what you're going to create. Raul talked about it, and Kelley did an absolutely amazing job. I'll talk about what she was talking about. And when I had this as a leader, I had my entire real estate investor community, not only local, but all across the United States. And basically I had to close my doors. So switch this entire focus online immediately, bam, right off the bat, moved it in the cloud, and it expanded, and the world opened up. And I went, wow, this is amazing. Money started flowing in more. We expanded our vision, we expanded our horizon, but it was the shift and becoming something. And this is what Pastor Ray talked about. And I just absolutely loved his message. And so a lot of people, when you get started, you're going, okay, well, let's get into the personal development. Okay, let's read the book, Think and Grow Rich. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I put Rick Dad. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn. And all of a sudden you get into this mindset. And what happens is you start to put things into your thoughts. When you bring in your thoughts, now your thoughts are going to create your beliefs. Now, when you were raised in the education system, we were taught to go to school, get good grades, so you can go get a job. and then you're going to save, and then you're going to go, once you save, you're going to retire at 65. See, these were what we were taught in school. And as you're taught in school, these thoughts and beliefs are creating the emotions. Now we got to stay engaged, we got to stay encouraged, we got to stay, passionate about the future. And now these emotions are playing with us. So now we're going, okay, okay, I'm happy. Okay, don't give don't take money from strangers. Another one is, money doesn't grow on trees. So we're being taught all of these things about money. But what is the thing that's not taught in school? Money. What's the emotion that people connect with money? Now we got to go back into our beliefs. We go into our thoughts. We do it. But where is money taught? Where do you learn about money? So I got in, and when I made the switch into becoming a real estate investor, you've got to raise millions of dollars in capital. You got to raise money for your business plan. So as an entrepreneur, you're raising money, you get a return on that money, you're getting into business, and now you only have 24 hours, and now you start working in your business instead of on your business, and next thing you know, now your business owns you. Oh my gosh, well, how do I need to change? So this brings in the actions at which you're going to do. Tom said it best. I wanted to make money. So from 7 to 12, I made phone calls. I set up appointments from 12 to 3, and I was on skiing at 4 o'clock. See, the lifestyle of what Tom wanted drove the reactions that created the results. Most people don't look at all these areas and all of the results that this plays in. So let me open up the door to a possibility. Faith. Do you spend some time in prayer? And Raul hit it the best. Staying in that mindset of appreciation, gratitude, being loved, being at the high level of your, I would say your spectrum or energy cycle. And one of the things that Kelley hit on was the vision and the purpose and the feelings and the energy. And that is where you got to stay. See, as soon as you go into the fear and resentment and blame, you can't create. So you're creating more of your own resistance. So when you get into love and enlightenment and experience, and you start to live life from that experience, people go, well, how are you living? I was like, well, I live in love. I live in giving. I live in the ability. So the energy level is directly connected to you creating. Now, all of a sudden, you're with your family and you're fun and you want to travel and you got vacations and golfing and fishing. Well, if that's a priority, put that on your priority as something you're going to do. Tom did it, and it drove his numbers. Health is, Tom said, Raul says, yeah, I just wake up and I drink a glass of water, and I go, he probably doesn't know that water is filled with bromine, chlorine, chloride, and all that other stuff that's filling up the bottles. So if he was to switch with distilled water with minerals that I learned from Ron Williams, Mr. 7-time Mr. Universe, he could clear up with 20 minutes a day, get on the treadmill, do a little bit of eating, and he would slim down with just that bit of knowledge. And then all of a sudden you move into the health side, and basically this is the health side. How much of our food is built with sugar? So you walk into the grocery store, imagine 98% of that grocery store is against you with your environment. So now your environment isn't even on your own side. Now we're going to move into this health side, the wealth side. And this is where I really want to touch on. Our education system teaches nothing about money. So you go to school, get good grades, get a job, save and travel. So I want to open up. This is the life by default. And regardless of the industry you're in, the business you own, is that you are paying interest for loans, you're paying your expenses to taxes, and you live on what's left over. So where do they teach anything about money to get out of debt? Where do they teach anything? So then all of a sudden you go down and you listen to Dave Ramsey, save, 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 live, 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 scarcity, scarcity, scarcity. Well, where is that on the vibrational level? Scarcity, vibrational level? Oh my gosh. Now, in a real estate investor, you go out and buy $1 million, a property, you raise $100,000, $200,000. Well, boom, they're going to get a return on their money. Most of that time, I'm borrowing that money from retirement accounts that people have learned to self-direct. They're getting to get a very nice return on their money. They're going to get secured with a piece of real estate like the banks do. But where do the banks teach you anything about how to pay off their debt? Well, think about a 21% line of credit could be used to chunk down a mortgage, and a 5% mortgage is 100% front end loaded. But where do they teach any of this? Well, they don't teach any of it anywhere because it's against the system, the default system. See, this default system really is something that was created for the big bankers, the financial industry, the government, and they're all in business to use you as a human resource. So your job is the most expensive way to earn an income. And now once you get your W-2, then you go out there and get your house because you got to get a loan. And of course, that's going to be amortized. And now you're in debt up to your eyebrows because the student loan wants their interest. Your car wants their interest. The house wants their interest. I mean, all the banks. And by living, most of your life is lived in taxes and in interest. And then you've got somebody that's on your team going, oh, I'm your financial planner. Why don't you take any money that's left over and shove it in the stock market, which is another most inefficient way to get a return on your money. So staying insured, that's the last piece. 15 minutes will save you 15%. You've probably all heard of that. How much are you worth if that's what you're listening to? Well, you're listening to cheap insurance. You don't have your umbrella policy. You don't have peace of mind. So our education system does exactly what they're supposed to do. They don't teach you financial literacy, and your professionals that work for them, who's created the rules for those professionals? Meaning the CPAs, do they give you advice? Of course they don't give you advice because they lose their license if you do anything wrong. The bankers, you walk in, checking account, savings account. Talk to your financial planner, save one day, someday. And by the way, a friend of mine just lost $1 million in the stock market just recently as it took its cycle. And he's like, James, I wish I would have listened to you. And then I'm like, no, just stay in the market, it'll come back. But before it plummets, you better move it. And then we're going to be talking about using insurance products to do that if that's where you're at. If not, I would say invest in paying off your debts, then expand your business, and then you're doing it. So this is where we start to get into life by design. What if you could live on the blue part? See, the blue part you're already giving away. The blue part of the more taxes, the more interest. And so when you start to do that, there's 5 steps that I walk people through to absolutely create the lifestyle, regardless of where they're at. Number 1, recover the money from the government, which is start and expand a business and learn how to raise capital. The second thing is strategically structure that all of your money is working toward your debt. That is using lines of credit, that's using 0% credit cards, that's using business credit. You know, if you, and I can go into the 4, I will talk about the 4 entities, but when you go into understanding, there's 4 financial quadrants. And so when you start to tap into all these 4 financial quadrants, you can definitely start to accelerate your investment invest in what you know. Your business, for example, then scale your business revenue, which means work on your business, not work in your business, and have your business own you. That's leverage, that's scaling, that's getting an employee, that's finding independent contractors. Eric loves it, is relationships. Make it count and live your life's legacy. See, that estate plan is a legacy. And if you don't have an estate plan, then you've got to work toward that estate plan, which brings in all the financial products. And building your team is the most important thing. So I'm going to go through these real fast. Number 1, recovering your cash. You got to make sure you understand all the legal, what a sole proprietorship is. You want to be bankable, how to set up the LLC, and then move into the S Corp and the C Corp. Understand that the left side, and I'll talk about it, the 4 financial quadrants, active income, anything less than a year, and passive income, anything over a year. So that's number 1. Strategically structure and engineer your wealth. It's called your financial independence, it's called your scorecard, but you also have tools out there that can actually structure it to get you out of debt very quickly. Accelerate what you know. Being in, and I'll just highlight Tom Davies, being in real estate. He's not only in real estate, has a team, also has investments, and he lives his lifestyle with the balance of life. So when you really build and get into investing in what you know, now you're going to move forward. He is a master in real estate. And mine is, I wanted to be a master in finances. I have studied this like you would not believe. So people could say, James, How do you go out, be $180,000 in debt, and in 4 months be debt free? I'm going to share a testimonial with you in just a second of exactly how that happens. Scale your business revenue. Start to live your life with, you know, how you love it. You bring people on in those relationships. And the last one is learning how to make it count, shifting that into a cash flow mentality. It's the Rockefellers. So these are the 4 areas right here. The bottom left is where the tax CPA hangs out, your 1040 or W-2. You move that up to the S Corp and the C Corp. That's your active income side. That's where your flips, that's where your wholesalings. The right side of the quadrant is your passive revenue, which is your 401k, self-directing it, potentially going into notes, buying real estate. And then the last one is the insurance product, and then overfunding and learning how to really take your active income and your passive income and maximize it through making sure you keep all your money through the government. So I'm going to bring up Josh's testimonial and I'll finish with this. This is a gentleman that was most resistant to anything that I had to say. Finally went in and said, James, I'm open. I said, get your wife in front of the computer so I can show her exactly what you're getting ready to do. And this is what happened.
Hello, everyone. Just riding here, getting ready to go to the airport, flying back to California, but I've got Josh sitting next to me. Josh, tell us a little bit about your experience over the last 3.5 months.
All I can say is thanks to James and his mentorship, I've gone from an 8 to 12 year debt-free lifestyle to being almost debt-free after 3 months working with James.
So he absolutely, after 4 months, he was debt-free, $180,000. He had a car loan for 30 grand. He had a $200,000 loan, a $50,000 loan. So he was $150,000 in debt, had a car loan. And the next thing you know, 4 months later, we moved around these infrastructures. See, we moved around the monies that people are not taught. And basically he was debt-free and did his first deal in 6 months, and in less than 4 years, he became a millionaire. See, this people hope that really, if you have an idea, business ownership is a where to go. If you have an idea, raise the capital, put it into a structure, move toward, and build the life you want. And COVID, if you're at home, gives you an opportunity that, hey, I get some time, I'm at home, let me get creative, let me get excited. Let me get excited about what's in front of me because it opens doors of possibility. And that's what the message has been through the entire day, is saying, you know what, I want to create, I want to be a creator of what I'm doing today and what I'm living into tomorrow. And make sure you put that travel, the schedules, the skiing, the water skiing, everything, make sure you put that in alignment to why you're doing what you're doing. Give back, love life. Back to you, Eric.
James, could you tell everybody, one thing that I think some people struggle with is guilt. So when they're working, they feel guilty that they're not with their kids. When they're with their kids, they feel guilty because they're not working. What is your mindset that allows you to live the life and enjoy? Because I know you love to travel. So how do you think about it when you're like, you crush in business, but you also have this great outside life that's important to you? So what's your mindset about that?
Well, I'll touch on it from those that might be living in that arena. Okay, so Pastor Ray talked about it when he says make the shift in becoming. So let's look at it from and I'll practice with you right now. Let's just pray you have this form of guilt, but then all of a sudden you go, oh, how would it feel to actually have your money, you making more money than you do working? And how does it feel to be with your family traveling? So Eric, how would that feel?
Well, that'd be amazing. Are you basically saying I can have both?
I'm saying if you want to feel with this world that you want to create, then your guilt is tied to a connection of meaning, which is your job. if you want to, or making money, but then give up that connection, get into a space and create. Now, how would you like to have people making money while, and then you made more money than you did, so you're traveling? Would you feel guilty that all these people are working for you while you're traveling around with your family?
No.
No. How does that feel? How does that make you feel, your family feel, to be able to do what you love to do in the world of creating?
That would be amazing.
Perfect. You just transformed your entire life.
Awesome. That was a great example, James. And James is somebody who lives it. You all, one thing it was crystal clear that we got from James's presentation is he loves learning these nuances about money and how money works. And James, I know you've offered a consultation. I'm going to send it out to everybody in the chat of how they can request it with the email, but you want to tell everybody what that consultation's about?
I just want to get to know somebody and, and help them. Basically, if you reach out to me and with whatever situation you're in, whether it's personal development, whether it's mindset, whether it's raising capital, you got a real estate situation, whatever it might be that could, so, I could help you, then just reach out to me. I'll give you my cell phone number, text me, Cash Flow Group, and my cell phone is 916-943 5437. Right now,
Awesome.
I've got over 500 real estate investor students. That's what I offer when I talk about it. And I said, okay, what would you like to create? What would and where are you at right now? And what knowledge could I help you with? And the relationships at creating that next phase. Because in real estate, when we're buying and flipping and raising capital, we're always looking for solutions. So if you are in a situation where, you're looking for a solution, then, let's put it in perspective. Most people will think about it as money, and it's not. A business plan is putting money in motion to create more of what your plan is. That's called business. And so you just need a plan to move you forward. And that's when you really get to brainstorm with somebody that says, hey, I'm here, I want to go here. Good. So it's pretty awesome. It's an amazing transformation of a human being. And when you start to get to where Josh is at, Josh, when I first met him, he's like, I'm doing what my financial planner says. I've got overfunding, I've got stocks, I've got this, I've got that. And I said, are you open to a possibility? And it wasn't until I got his wife on the line, showed his wife what could be possible, and then they moved forward with their plan and literally became a millionaire in 4 years. He didn't leave his job. He didn't start a business. He just learned more about his money because his advice came from Dave Ramsey. Not to say anything bad about him, but it's hard to get out of the ditch when you're in the ditch.
Awesome stuff, James. Thanks so much for the great ideas, and it's always wonderful to connect with you, and I enjoy our collaboration.
Absolutely. Eric, you are awesome. You do some amazing things. And by the way, my team loves you.
Fantastic. All right, James, we'll be in touch.
Sounds good, sir. Thank you.
All right. So we're going to take a little break here. We're going to bring on Ruthie Bolton to wrap up our day, two-time Olympic gold medal winner. She's got an amazing message to share with you guys. If you'd like a free consultation with James, there's his email, there's his cell phone. Just reach out to him. Hey, James, I was on the motivational class today. I'd like to get some time with you. And you can receive some value from him. I've known James for many years. He and I do a lot of work together. If you've ever trained with me in Sacramento at an office building, that likely was James's building. He's let me use it many, many times. And so he's very, very close to me. And the house that I'm in right now, I'm doing the webinar from home, as probably many of you are. James actually helped me put this deal together, and the deal was dead. And James and his team helped me get into my dream home. So that's a really cool connection that we have. All right, well, we're going to take a little quick break here, and we're going to be back up with Ruthie in just a little bit. I need to help her get logged in, and I'll be right back in just a couple minutes. We'll be getting started here in just a little bit. Ruthie's just logging in. And before we bring her on, I want to acknowledge all of you for being here today to hear all these speakers investing this time in yourself. You're really investing in your mindset, you know, to put you in a mindset so you can go out there and you can be productive, you can be successful. And I'm really just thrilled that you took the time out. I do things like this all the time, constantly looking to better myself. And looks like, Ruthie, we got you here. Your microphone, you need to turn your microphone on. There should be a button. There you go.
Oh,
Are you there?
I'm trying to see you now. Hold up. Am I just gonna
Okay.
see you? Would I see you or no?
Yeah, well, I'll turn my camera on, and we can turn your camera on if you want. Do you want to turn your camera on?
Sure. Can you see
Okay.
me?
Let me send you a. You should get a request on your device to turn your camera on.
Oh, this is fancy. Hold up.
Yeah,
Audio.
we are fancy.
I see screen. I wonder what this means. Something screen. Do you see me, Eric?
I don't see you yet.
I see audio at the bottom at the questions settings. I see camera. Maybe. I see you though. Huh? Well,
Let's send it again. Did a little message come up to turn on your webcam?
No, I see a thing to the left. I wonder, should I hit that? See screen, audio. No, that's not it. Oh, shit. What did I just do?
And the good news is we got your audio. So if for some reason the video doesn't work, it's not critical, but it's cool if we can see you.
Okay. So can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. And so we're all good to go. So why don't we just go with this?
Okay, cool. Okay.
So you can see the screen right now, the your Sports
Hold up.
Illustrated cover, right?
Yeah, I just saw that. What did I do? Okay, yes. Okay. I
And that's
see the
you on that Sports Illustrated cover, right?
Yeah, that's me.
And who else is on there?
That's Cheryl Swoops, three-time Olympian, a four-time WNBA champion. She's the one with the ball, like the guard with both legs up.
Yeah.
Towards my head. And the one behind her, beside her, is Katrina McLean. Dr. Eric, you haven't heard a lot about her because she retired early, but when I tell you that she was one of the most amazing post players, like she ran like a reindeer. She went to Georgia. She could come out of retirement and train and be anybody that nobody could even stand. She jumped so high, she really could have played with men. Her jumping ability was off the chart. So playing with those two girls, man, they made my job easy.
Now there was what 12 women on this the Olympic team here?
Yes, 12 girls, and then there was alternates. Alternates mean someone get hurt. They every now and then they need it, and someone get injured, and they just can't play. Yeah, but 12 girls that travel.
And how did you get selected to be on the cover?
You know what? I was one. The way I got selected, I was one of the starters for that year. But this 96, I was one of the Nike girls.
Yeah.
So I was, I guess, considered somewhat important that year.
Okay.
But yeah, Nike chose 5 players, and my Olympic coach was the reason why they chose. They were sort of debating between me and one of the other players. I can't remember, but she said, "No, Ruthie deserves to be a Nike girl," and so that's what they did. So with this Sports Illustrated, it was mainly all the Nike girls that was on it. The layout would show 2 other girls, and all of us were Nike athletes. So, and I was injured at this time. My knee that I have up, I was walking with a crutch, but you couldn't tell because I didn't use it. So what I did, just jumped on one leg the whole time. Jumped on one leg. I know. See, that's something most people don't know.
Now, Ruthie, people would they'd see you now and know, you won the Olympics with the Olympic team twice, and you had 2 NCAA championships, right?
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. You know what? We won. We went and we lost 2 years in a row, Eric. I tell you, when I left the following year, they went again. Auburn went through. Who does that? You go to 3 championship games, and at the time, you don't care. When you lose, you think, oh, it don't matter. But when in hindsight, it's such an amazing accomplishment. Out of all the 1,000 or 2,000 teams in the country, you're the last 2 standing. And so we made it to the championship game twice. And believe it or not, if I knew how to play basketball, Eric, I think we would have won. I didn't learn how to really play until after college. What I did in college was based on and my college coach would test that. It was just tenacity and hard work. One of my teammates was just talking with me the other day in college. She said, Ruthie, if I want the ball high, you pass it low. If I want it low, you pass it high. I was turnover prone my first 2 years. I was put in a position that I just wasn't good at, but I learned, I applied myself, and I ended up.
How did you learn how to get good at basketball? I mean, obviously you were good enough to be the starter, but you got even better. So how did you get better?
I got better just by staying hungry. You know that, your favorite meal, like I love collard greens and cornbread. You know how good that tastes when I'm hungry? So when I sit down and eat that, if I ate it when I wasn't hungry, then it wasn't tasting good. So you stay hungry by having goals and by wanting something more than what you see. Like, I want to get there. I'm trying to get to a place. So I stay hungry every day, even in practice. My teammates all were just like, before practice, they was like, oh my God, let me see and make sure I'm on Ruthie's team. They didn't even want to practice against me because I was just that competitive, and I hungry every possession. Listen, if the ball went out of bounds on a drill, I didn't listen. It didn't matter about the line. It didn't matter about the whistle being blown. I didn't stop until I pursued that basketball. And
now,
so
your hunger compared to like your teammates at Auburn? Was there anyone else that was as hungry as you, or were you the hungriest?
You know, I have to believe, you know, we all sit around. We was on a Zoom call the other day, 2.5 hours. We was all just reminiscing. And I think they just said, Ruthie, you lived up to your name, mighty. Like you just was this, you was in this zone. And they said you had this mentality that you just didn't care. Like you wasn't afraid of anything. You took constructive criticism. You know, we laughed at you at your bad Jericho. You know, she said you was a great teammate. You were coachable. Cause you had my teammate yelled at me when I yelled at you about the pass. You didn't get upset. You're like, okay, tell me when I need to pass it. And I was hungry to get better. So I would say, cause I was put in a different situation, Eric. When you had a situation when there's a sense of urgency, when I was told that I probably wouldn't play in my senior year, you can only imagine what I'm feeling. Like basketball, like could have slipping through my fingers. When they told me I wouldn't play in my senior year, I wasn't as good as my sister. I might well should just, and I thought about quitting. I thought about just walking away from the game. Like, you know what? I guess it's not meant to be. But my dad whispered in my ear for me to get to Auburn. He said, you know what? You get on this bus. This may be the most important ride you'll ever take. And then when I get there and the coach tell me I wouldn't play in my senior year, you can only imagine what I'm going through in my mind. Like, is this supposed to happen to me? I'm like, I don't want any doubt. So that's what pushed me so hard every time I got on the basketball court, is that I want this. I don't want to hear, no, you're not good enough and it's taken away from me. So I had this sense of urgency. So it's something about when you working towards something, when you get this sense of urgency, like there's no plan B. You know how everybody say, you know, don't put all your eggs in one basket. When you want something bad enough, Eric, you put everything you got right there. I don't have a plan B right now. My plan A is that I got to make this happen. That's where I was. And having that mentality at that time in my career, that will help me. If I had a plan B, I probably, I go, no. My plan A, B, and C was right there at Auburn. So that will prepare me into an opportunity to play for the national team.
Now, when you got to Auburn, you know, people watching this right now, I have your photo up with the gold medals, and you played in the WNBA, and people would think, well, shoot, it was easy for Ruthie because, you know, she was a star in high school. She went on to play to college. She was probably heavily recruited. It was easy for Ruthie, but you were not heavily recruited. And can you talk about what happened after high school and then going into college and how you ended up, what the challenge was at that point?
Boy, I tell you, Eric, it's, you know, I've been doing motivation speaking for about almost 15 years now, ever since I retired. And every time I share this story, it actually amazes me, because it's like, and before I share this story, I'm just gonna ask the audience, what is your why? When you think about when you want something, what is your why? If you don't know what your why is, when you lose your why, you lose your way. But when you know what your why is, you will claw and you will stretch and you will just like, hey. So me knowing my why is that I want to play basketball. And what really the origin of that was being from a family of 20, 11 sisters, 8 brothers, growing up in the country, jumping fences, climbing trees, just being this tomboy that was just trying to I wanted obstacles, I wanted challenges. When we had to prepare the field, Eric, I wanted to pick up the heavy bricks. I didn't want anything easy. I want something challenging. I want something that was gonna make me have to flex my muscle a little bit. So, but anyway, this one particular thing, and I have to share this story about jumping this fence. And I was pretty athletic, had a bad Jerry curl, but I was pretty athletic growing up as a little girl. And we used to jump fences all the time. And this particular day, sometime in life, fear just sometimes just paralyzes you. You get to a place where like, I thought I wanted to do this, but like, why am I afraid today? Why do I feel like I can't, I feel like I'm stuck. And that's what I felt like as this 14, 15-year-old trying to jump this fence. As I got ready to run and jump this fence, all of a sudden it's like, it got taller, it got higher. I'm like, hold up, I know I just jumped this fence like the day before, the day, I've done it a lot. That particular day, it was extremely crisp. That particular day, I felt like I couldn't do it. And so I pondered with that fence for about 15 minutes, and I could see my relatives, cousins, brothers and sisters saying, come on, we know you've done it before, don't worry about it. But I was like, no, I know I could jump this fence. But I didn't get to jump that fence that day, Eric. The night came, and I hated going inside when the street light came on. And I didn't even want to sleep that night. I'm like, I know I could do it. And they were asking me, what's the big deal? We want you to just start where we left off. I said, no, I can jump this fence. So sure enough, the next morning before anyone got up, I went outside. There was me in that fence. There was, and I said, you know what? See yourself jumping that fence. Don't see the obstacle. Don't see it that you can't. See yourself jumping over that fence, celebrating. And I'm like, okay, you got this, Ruthie. Just relax. Go back to the basics. I took a deep breath, Eric, and I started to run. See yourself jumping. And that's all. And I closed my eye and I saw myself jumping. And I remember leaping, jumping up over the fence, landing like sort of on my backside. But guess what? I had leaped that fence and jumped that fence and had conquered this moment. And I celebrated on that ground, Eric. Listen, I don't know what was that moment, me doing that, the feeling that I felt. There was ESPN wasn't there. The Olympic Committee wasn't there. The Hall of Fame Committee wasn't there. Even Auburn wasn't there. It was me and that fence. Why was that moment important to me? I'm 14 to 15 years old, like celebrating, and wasn't peer pressure. Nobody. It was something inside of me. I knew that moment. I needed that experience, and without knowing it, I believe that's the day I start embracing my Olympic journey. Is that, you know, I accomplished that. I got over that fence. It meant so much to me. That was my small miracle. And that was my small miracle that day. And that moment prepared me for the rest of my life. It prepared me for when I got on that bus to go to Auburn, and knowing that they didn't want me because they didn't recruit me. I had to pretty much call them and ask them, can I come on a school visit? They said, we could put you on a bus. But I'm like, hey, you flew my sister on a private jet. Why am I riding the bus? They're like, hey, we don't have the budget to fly you. They was really expecting me to say no, but I said, hey, you know, okay, all right, I'm coming. I get there, I take the 10-hour bus ride, I go to Auburn, and I'm excited, getting ready to play with my sister because she's already there. They tell me, man, but they was like, why are you even here? I'm like, you bought me a ticket. They said, well, we never thought you would come. We didn't want to have to tell you what we have to tell you now, is that we just don't think you can play here at this level. And I'm sitting there being a preacher kid now, and you don't know the things that was going through my mind. I'm like, are you serious? Like, you put me on a bus for 10 hours to tell me that you didn't want me? But they did say, you know what, we will honor the scholarship, but you probably won't play to your senior year, and that's left up to you. And I remember going back home. They said, give us a week to let us know in a week. And Eric, I remember going back home, and I was devastated. I was so upset. I was like, Dad, I don't want to play basketball. Forget this. He said, daughter, listen. He said, what did I live by? If you take in life with you just a few principles, you won't have to carry a suitcase full of rules. And those principles are my faith, my attitude, which is my mindset, and how hard I work. He said, with those three things, you can conquer whatever you want to. And so he said, don't walk away from your dream because you're afraid you're going to fail. He said, you fail when you don't try. You fail when you walk away. You fail when you say, I'm not good enough. Yeah, you're right. You will fail. He said, you go there, and he said, you're going to prove to them wrong. He said, you're going to soar. You're going to do some amazing things. I'm thinking like, wow, my dad really believes in me. So that go to show you at times, Eric, when sometimes when you're at a point in your life where you don't quite have it enough yourself, surround yourself with people that's going to hold you accountable, people that's going to lift you up a little bit and help you, give you that little jump start and help you rise above. Because guess what? It doesn't matter how much money you pay for a car. You can buy a Volkswagen, or you can buy a Mercedes, or you can buy a Lamborghini. Those cars are going to all need a tune-up or oil change. We all need that in life, no matter what you think, how big you think you are, or how small you think you are. It is about your mindset and knowing what your why is. And my why is that I want to play basketball. And so that's why I was able to go to Auburn and win 119 games and lose 12 in 4 years, two Final Fours, 3 conference championship. And now when you go back to Auburn, you see my jersey retired there. And now they are thinking about putting a statue out in front for me. And but I share that story, not bragging, but really just to remind the people that I share with, like, hey, you can do it. And that knowing your why, and you push when you feel like you can't do it, just push a little bit harder. And if you fall flat on your face, so what? Do not be afraid to fail. Do not be afraid to come up short, because if you're afraid, you're probably going to fail and you're probably going to come up short. But you push and you push and you push, and that's what build that resilience inside of you. And it's the most beautiful experience to know that I pushed. I could have walked away, but I kept pressing on.
Hang on just 1 second because my dog's barking.
Oh, that's it.
And I need to tell my kids. I need to tell Bella. You know Bella. I need to tell Bella to get the dog.
Okay. Put it to work.
All right. So you made a bunch of really great points, and I want to spotlight one of them. I want to give you guys the breakthrough that Ruthie just shared something with you. And there's an insight, a very powerful insight for you guys. When she was telling your fence story, that what happened when she jumped over the fence is it was something that was meaningful to her, and it created a breakthrough for her. And that is, it's an experience of accomplishing something by doing. So we can learn. Right now, you're all on this webinar, and you're learning on this webinar. You're having these ahas, these breakthroughs, these epiphanies. And learning on a webinar is one way of learning, but another way of learning is learning by doing. And so sometimes we have fear that stands in the way of us calling on a larger account. I want to do a webinar, but I'm afraid to do a webinar. I want to do Facebook Live, but I'm afraid of being on camera. I want to write the book, but I'm afraid to write the book. I want to fill in the blank, and fear holds us back. But when we have a little apprehension or a little bit of fear, and then you accomplish it, now you have that confidence. And for Ruthie, that was such a pivotal moment in her life that here it is many years later, and she attributes that as she was born at her Olympic journey began in that moment because she had a sense of confidence. So Ruthie, when you made it for the Olympic tryout, so a similar kind of thing. There was women recruited to be at the tryouts, but you were not recruited to be at the tryout. So talk about that, because people think, oh, you were a starter on the Olympic team, so they must have recruited you, but that's not what happened.
Boy, I tell you, Eric, you know what? I watched this about a month ago. The game came on. The 1996 gold medal game came on. And I'm like sitting there like I was almost, it took me back, and I was like, wow. And I was like numb. I'm like, wow, it's been in 1996. I can remember walking on the basketball court. All this stuff just came back. And even my kids were around me. I was so zoned in because I'm like, oh my goodness, that really happened. Like I literally got a chance to play for the Olympics. It was just this moment took me back. But thinking about when I was contemplating even going to the tryouts because I didn't get invited. And I during that time, Eric, I consider myself a girl with maybe sort of low self-esteem, not sure of myself at times, and just needed that reassuring. And my dad was there as my anchor. My dad was there. He didn't want to push me to get on that bus. And then after college, he didn't want to push me to go try out, pay your own way to go. I'm like, Dad, but it feels like they already telling me I'm not good enough because I didn't get invited. I went to the Final Four game, the championship game, and I was an all tournament, average 20-some points a game. So they telling me that I'm not good enough. He said, well, why are you going to believe? He said, it doesn't matter what people say about you as long as it's not true. And he said, it will be true if you don't go. It don't show up. But you let them know. He said, you go and you go. He said, I don't know what's going to happen. You go. Maybe you'll make it. You may not. But at least you would have known. You didn't stay back based on their perception. Don't let people write your story. Don't let people be the director of your movie. You be the director of your movie, of your life, as much as you can control. So sure enough, I paid my own way to go, Eric, 175 girls. And we already up against the 125 because there's 50 girls that they invite. These are their VIPs, their superstars. And out of that group, they're only going to choose 24 girls. So they handpick these girls from championship teams, from having stats. So we're that other group, 125 of girls just hoping somebody look at us for a second. Many people told me not to go. I'm wasting my time. I'm just setting myself up for rejection. But my dad once again reminded me, nudged me, said, daughter, this could be an experience he said, I know it's going to be an experience that's going to push you forward. And so I went after 3 days of training. They gave this big speech, Eric. They said, thank you all for coming. Man, we only got, 24 spots and 175 girls. You all worked hard. Keep coming back. Don't give up. Follow your dreams. If it didn't happen this year, it could happen next year. If you made a team outside on a phone call came in. Outside on the door, you'll see your name highlighted. And sure enough, Eric, I stood up, went outside, and it was just like it was yesterday. I looked on the door, and when I saw my name, I was like, this can't be true. Like, is this the list that didn't make it? No, they said, no, you made the team. My heart my body got warm all over. I said, Lord, I called my dad. I said, Dad, he said, he didn't ask the prize. He said, why are you surprised? I'm like, yeah, because he said, I knew you could do it. And to me, you look at getting on that fence, getting on that bus, and now going here, it's amazing how just that mindset is that, because I could have easily on all three of those things just walked away. Say, oh, no, it's not meant to be. But when you have that, when you still know what your why is, when you have that burning desire in you, like, I want this. I go to bed at night. I sleep this. I'm telling you, it was just the most amazing thing. I'm like, wow. And so that started my national team journey. I ended up playing for 11 different national teams, but that's why watching that gold medal game, Eric, the other night, I sat there. I said, I wasn't supposed to be there. I'll tell my kids, I wasn't supposed to be representing the USA, according to man. I wasn't supposed to be on that podium. I watched that game, Eric. I was so focused. Listen, this girl averaging 30 points a game. My coach told me that night before, she said, and it was a great team, the Brazilian. They had beat us in the World Championship 2 years prior. She said, you got to get in this girl grill. She said, if I didn't think you could do it, I wouldn't even ask you. She said, but you are ready. She said, I want you to get so close to that. If she go to the bathroom, you go with her. I want you to get in her grill, Eric, is that I want you to be able to tell what toothpaste she used to brush her teeth with. I was like, wow. Me, the coach really, I'm like, you asking me? She said, you got this. And I'm like, wow, the coach trusts me because I prepared myself. I always knew I was always wanting to get better. I always stayed hungry to get better, Eric. And she told me, she said, you would never satisfy. You always want to get better. I watched tape. So sure enough, watching this game, I had 16 points, 5 rebounds, 5 steals, 5 assists, and no turnovers. And know me in college, I told you I was turnover prone, man. It's like that. The ball was like hot potato. It's like I no turnovers. And this girl had 3 points with me. She ended up with 6 total. But I'm thinking about, like, and my Olympic coach texted me during that game. She said, you were amazing. She said, I don't care what they say. I know it's team this, but we won that game because of you. But I was just delighted that I could carry the team on my shoulder defensively. And I thought about that moment of just being there for my teammates. And when we stood on the podium and I got my gold medals, which I actually brought with me, when I stood on the podium, Eric, I'm telling you, I cried. Listen, there's no cute way to cry. I was like, why they gotta keep showing that picture? I was just crying. I did not cry. I need to learn how to cry cute, Eric. Can you help me learn how to cry cute? But that moment, and I told my kids, and they watched me, they were so delighted. I said, Mommy, that was you? I said, yes. And I was sharing with them the things that was going on in my head. And I tell you, so many of my teammates reached out to me and like, man, that was your night. But I was so geared in because I knew the coach told us that anything less than a goal was a failure. I had that stuck in my brains. She gave this illustration like, hey, it ain't just about winning the medal. We are expected in the United States to win the gold. Anything less is we fail. So I got that imprinted in my head. That's what I want. It's no other thing. And so when she told me in order for us to win the gold, I had to D this girl up and I had to make her life miserable. When I walked on the basketball court before the game, I looked at her. I never said a word, but I looked at her and my eyes told her, this is about to be the worst night of your life. That's too much at stake. I don't know what you prayed last night. I don't know what you prayed today, but it ain't gonna happen. This is the only thing that separates us from a goal is 40 minutes of basketball. So that moment impacted my life tremendously in so many levels. There was so many levels, so much dynamic to the story. Trust could come in, teammates trusting you, resilience, commitment, teamwork, sacrifice, all those things embody who you are. All those things, I think, is part of that why. And that's one of the reasons why I don't have these in a safe deposit box. That's why I travel with these, because I know that what I've done in basketball, and it's bigger than basketball. It's bigger than me. And so I continue, Eric, to travel overseas. And and U.S. Embassy and just share my story. I've done so many Zooms since this pandemic, and I just want everybody listening out there, find your miracle in every day. Find your gold medal moment in every day. And so I had a birthday 3 days ago, and so that was my little theme on my little on the Zoom. It's like, find your miracle. What is your miracle today? What are you looking for? What are your expectations? Are you waiting on something gigantic to fall out the sky? Are you waiting on this big light? Find your miracle. There is a miracle around you every day. Find that miracle in every day. Find that gold medal moment in every day. And that's going to keep you sharp. That's going to keep you focused. And that's going to keep you on the right track. And it's going to give you this sense of like, hey, you know what? I accomplished something today. I found a miracle today. So wherever your goal is, don't get so overwhelmed by, the goal down the road. Yeah, I want to win the gold in 96. But guess what we had to do before we win the gold, Eric? There was a lot of morning workouts. There was a lot of video watching. There was a lot of push-ups. There was a lot of sprints. So that the winning will take care of itself. Your goal gonna take care of itself. You got to do the work in between that place that you're trying to get to, and that's knowing your why and knowing and finding that miracle and that sense of accomplishment every day. Find something that stimulates you and keep you moving forward. It could be gratitude. Gratitude is something like, what can I find one thing I'm thankful for? I refuse to let this pandemic, I refuse to let this COVID-19 take my mindset and make me think that I've lost. To me, and I know my heart goes out to the families, and I know there's a lot of to families that lost relatives and loved ones, but we still can rise above. This too shall pass, and we have to still stay within ourselves, know that we will get through this, and I have to still find there's something great about, I want to come out this a better person and be a best version of myself as I can be.
Fantastic, Ruthie. What a great message you were our end of day speaker to wrap up a great day. This is concluding our afternoon, so it was an awesome message. And I want to
thank you so much. I know you get. I sometimes say, Eric, want to hear my same story over and over again. But I know you've heard so much. You could probably tell it better than me. But I thank you. I appreciate what you do. I appreciate you. We're in the fourth quarter in life, and every time I think about the fourth quarter, I'm still down by 6, Eric. I'm excited about what the future holds. And I'm still holding on that this is going to be one of the best years I've had in spite of this pandemic. I said in January, it's going to be an amazing year, and I'm still looking for that, and I still expect that. And I don't every day in this holding pattern, I'm doing something to be a better version of myself.
Fantastic case. Hey, on that note, we're going to wrap up our event. Wonderful to have you guys today. Take what you learned, go out there and take action. Ruthie, again, thank you for being our final speaker of the day. That's going to wrap it up, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Eric. Awesome.